demands to change his policy in the Middle East.
I know stuff during the day makes it unfair. They're uncivilized. They're uncivilized. A group of people, if they're fucking gonna yell shit, they're creepy construction workers that amount to shit, and telling somebody that was somebody something over and over again until you want to fucking beat their ass.
In moments like this, there are always those who rush and to score political points.
I already demonstrated. They don't want to fucking do that shit. They ain't no David's anything. If I logged out of this shit, they ain't gonna be able to log into it, no matter who the fuck they are. They ain't fucking me. Ain't their device. That's how they fucking search shit with people. That's how they get sued. I gotta get sued.
Are boiling over this week.
I never been in trouble before. You get a tap on the wrist. You get a tap on the wrist if you've never been jailed up in my entire life. Why are they waiting until my parents die and do this shit? They're fucking psycho. No, creepy construction workers are fucking pedophiles themselves, watching somebody that paid money to be able to fucking have security camera put in originally on that blue house, only for this guy to watch us take shits and showers. That's fucking against the law too. He was soliciting the same shit. No, fuck the president was fucking beat his dick off to all our fucking footage of us going to grocery stores and not doing anything illegal. No stupid fucking bastard psych.
They were a last-minute add to his schedule, but the White House insists the president was not bowing to political pressure. Biden previously downplayed the college protests, arguing that young people care more about other issues, like the economy and abortion rights. Back to you.
All right, Kate Gutierrez, thank you so much.
Despite political tensions here at home, the Biden administration is ramping up pressure on both Israel and Hamas to reach a ceasefire deal before the IDF carries out its offensive operation in Rafah.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken says Israel has made very important compromises in the latest proposal to Hamas leaders, and Hamas seems to be responsive to those changes. They say they view the negotiations in a positive light, adding a delegation will be joining Israeli officials in Cairo to continue talks of a ceasefire. The optimism over a potential deal comes as the reality worsens in Gaza. A new UN report finds Gazans will become fully dependent on outside aid within the next 3 months. Nearly 75% of Gazans have been displaced since the war began.
NBC News.
I'll fuck David up. I'll fuck him up. I'll fuck all you up. Get your ass kicked. Fuck the police. Fuck you. Fuck that fat fuck. Fucking Jabba the Hutt.
I was hurt by a careless driver, now I'm permanently injured. If you've been in a car wreck, you deserve more. More answers to your questions, more attention to your case, and more money in your pocket. Mike's team got me $350,000 for my car wreck. Call me. I've got this.
Joe Savannah, good morning. The world has been waiting now for several days for Hamas to give its response to the current ceasefire proposal. Israel's war cabinet met here in Tel Aviv last night, and they believed that they were going to get that response, a yes or a no, last night. Instead, Hamas indicating it wants to continue talking. The political leader of Hamas, Ismail Haniyeh, calling the head of Egyptian intelligence, who's been one of the absolute key mediators throughout these talks, telling him that Hamas negotiators will come to Egypt as soon as possible to complete the ongoing discussions with the aim of maturing an agreement. Now, guys, I've read a lot of Hamas statements since October 7th. On the one hand, this has positive sounds in it that Hamas feels that there is something worth discussing, worth going to Cairo to discuss. But it is also clear that they are not planning to give a definitive answer one way or another right now. Israel says it will not wait forever and that it is preparing to move ahead with that threatened offensive into the city of Rafah, where 1 million Palestinian civilians are sheltering. That is despite firm opposition from the White House. And Hamas says if Israel moves ahead with that attack, that's the end of the negotiations. Guys.
It feels like we've been here before, right? Optimism for a deal that then eventually fades away. Do things feel different this time?
It's really hard to say, Savannah. There is a lot of international pressure in all directions. The ceasefire deal, you can see the terms on your screen there, Hamas being asked to release 33 hostages from the so-called humanitarian category. That is women, it's children, it's the elderly, it's people with serious medical conditions. In return, Israel would release potentially thousands of Palestinian prisoners and agree to a 40-day ceasefire. Israeli officials say they've also made concessions on this question of allowing Palestinian civilians to return to their homes in northern Gaza. The U.S. says these are very generous terms to Hamas. But what Hamas officials are telling us is that one of the absolute key sticking points is whether this is a negotiation about a temporary pause in the fighting, which is what Israel wants, or whether this is a negotiation about ending the war altogether, which is what Hamas wants, and trying to bridge the gap between those kind of zero-sum positions is one of the key tasks of the mediators right now. Guys.
Raph, while we have you, Secretary of State Antony Blinken ended his tour of the Middle East this week by offering suggestions on how to best protect Gazans. What did he say?
So, Joe, a lot of this tour was focused on the ceasefire deal. A lot of it was focused on Rafah, but a lot of it also focused on this question of getting more humanitarian aid into Gaza. The secretary was there as Israel, for the first time, and frankly under intense American pressure, allowed aid to go directly through a crossing into northern Gaza. The Secretary of State saying that is a positive development, but that much more needs to happen. One of the points he made, Israel needs to be allowing more medicine, not just food, into Gaza. The healthcare system has all but collapsed inside of the Strip. Healthcare needs are dire. He says also Israel needs to do more to allow distribution inside of Gaza. So that is easing restrictions inside of the Strip. It's allowing more trucks to get in so they can be used for distribution. And finally, he said Israel needs to stop arbitrarily denying aid from going in. And what we have heard really consistently since the beginning from aid groups is that they arrive at the Rafah crossing or elsewhere, and they have what they think is very clearly humanitarian aid. And the Israelis say, no, you can't bring this in because it could potentially benefit Hamas. I'll give you just one example, guys. We've heard from aid groups that they have been denied the ability to bring freezers for insulin into Gaza because the Israelis have said that's something that could benefit Hamas. Not clear how that works. Guys.
Sanchez, as always, thank you for your reporting. Appreciate it. Let's take a look at what to expect the weekend weather-wise. Texas bracing for severe storms.
Angie Westman joins us with more of your morning news now. Weather forecast. Angie, good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. We're rolling right through this work week and headed so close to the weekend, but we, of course, continue to see the impactful weather across the middle of the country. Yesterday, in the past 24 hours, really, we picked up some impressive amounts of rain, and the visuals coming out of Texas, as far as the flooding is concerned, have been quite impressive. Notice, Huntsville, over 9 inches of rain in a 24-hour period. We've had nearly 10 inches of rain in Livingston. Those are some of the areas that we've seen really some damaging flooding happening, and plenty of river flood warnings underway. Notice the amount of moderate and major flooding that's happening along these rivers. Wherever you see that red and wherever you see that pink, that's where we're concerned for the river flooding. We've got a lot of swollen rivers across this region in parts of Texas, and we've also got the flood watches up and specifically the flash flood warnings in effect for parts of Texas. These flood watches extend into Oklahoma.
I can sue Paul now and they'll fuck themselves.
About 6 million people right now. The severe weather threat, while it was less yesterday, we still saw a couple of tornadoes. We had reports of hail, and today is kind of more of the same. The middle of the country is still the bullseye for where we're watching, but specifically, we've got a couple of these slight risk areas where our main threat that we're concerned about is going to be the hail, 2-inch in size or potentially larger, but some gusty winds and maybe a couple.
You don't be able to log into it, you stupid fucking moron. This isn't an area, you stupid fucking bitch. They serve a service. You ain't serving shit.
Something to watch into the afternoon and evening hours tonight. Now, as we roll into the weekend, the severe threat diminishes a little more. We still have a section of the country, specifically parts of Texas, same kind of spot, Lubbock, Midland, Fort Stockton, that we're going to watch for some stronger storms. So we'll watch for that here as we get into the day tomorrow. But the rain continues too. We've got 1 to 2 inches of rain expected across this region through Sunday. So we've kind of got this repeated performance that we're going to watch as far as these thunderstorms firing up over the same area as we get into the weekend too, before we really ramp up that severe weather by Monday and Tuesday. Out west, we've got another Pacific storm. That means, guys, rain and potentially snow for folks out there. So we'll be watching for impactful weather for them as we head through the weekend. But again, Monday, Tuesday, we're really going to be watching the middle of the country for more of those strong storms and severe storm risks.
All right. Thank you, Angie.
It's so
Appreciate
cute
it.
when we all get the same color.
Oh, we did. Look at us.
Now let's get to former President Trump's hush money trial here in New York. There were dramatic moments yesterday as a key prosecution witness was cross-examined about the alleged payments he helped arrange. NBC News senior legal correspondent Laura Jarrett has the latest.
Former President Trump arriving at court watching his defense team go on offense, casting a key prosecution witness as out to extort him for money. The defense hoping to discredit Keith Davidson, the lawyer who negotiated payoffs for Stormy Daniels and Karen McDougal. Both threatened to go public with stories of sex with Mr. Trump ahead of the 2016 election. Mr. Trump has denied the allegations of both women and denied any advance knowledge of the payoffs. His defense team suggesting today Davidson had a habit of shaking down celebrities like Charlie Sheen for money. Davidson saying he never extorted anyone, testifying at length about his negotiations with Michael Cohen, Mr. Trump's former attorney, but admitting he never met nor spoke to the former president. Instead, he dealt exclusively with Cohen, who he painted as desperate and despondent that then President-elect Trump would not make him Attorney General or White House Chief of Staff, describing a phone call where Cohen lamented, "I can't believe I'm not going to Washington." Cohen saying he'd saved Trump so many times, you don't even know. Davidson testifying about Cohen, "I thought he was going to kill himself." A helpful point for the defense as it tries to cast Cohen as having an axe to grind against Mr. Trump. The former president is accused of illegally doctoring his internal records to disguise his repayments to Cohen, making Cohen's testimony critical for prosecutors, who are now seeking additional fines against Mr. Trump, saying he violated a gag order again by calling his former fixer a liar, while the defense argues the former president should be allowed to defend himself against Cohen's frequent criticism.
I'm unconstitutionally gagged. He gagged me, so I'm not even supposed to be, I would say, talking to you because he gagged me.
Our thanks to Laura Jarrett for that report. For more, we are joined by NBC News legal analyst Angela Sanadella on this. Angela, good morning. So let's talk about this attorney, Keith Davidson. How effective of a witness was he, do you think?
So look, he's a very important witness for the prosecution. Aside from Michael Cohen, he's literally the other middleman. So he repped Stormy Daniels and Karen McDougal, whereas Michael Cohen repped Trump. And the two of them made this deal together. So his testimony was important to trace the money trail. And he did just that. He effectively showed his text that said funds received, which really closed the loop of the money. I also think it's effective that he brought up the election in his text messages, and he showed that he believed that perhaps this hush money deal is literally what tipped the election in Trump's favor. And look, that's totally circumstantial. It's just opinion. It's not based in numbers or quantity or fact. But the prosecution has to keep tying this back to the election. Through Laura's reporting, we hear how messy this all is, this whole hush money world. But ultimately, the allegation is that there's this election interference. So the prosecution has to keep bringing that back. But we did hear the defense say that he's this serial extortionist. And look, it's a fine line between extortion and getting money for NDAs. And that's what the defense is going to keep doing, just constantly attacking every witness of the prosecution for their credibility, saying they are just part of this seedy world. Don't believe them, jury. So it was balanced. It was effective, but it was also effective for the defense.
Something else the jury heard yesterday, Trump on tape talking to Michael Cohen about paying off McDougal. How important was this?
This is also very important because it is a circuitous money trail. It's not a direct line. It's he gave money to him, gave money to him, gave money to her. But as we also saw in Laura's reporting, Davidson says he never even talked to Trump directly. He never saw Trump. So there has to be some way the Manhattan DA can pinpoint Trump in the middle of this. He is the defendant, even though all these other people are the ones who exchanged the money. So having that recording, having some relevance of Trump being there, being involved, even if he didn't technically write that check, was very important.
Let's talk about the latest on the gag order, sort of this whole other like sub storyline going on in this courtroom. So prosecutors, they claim that Trump has now violated this 4 times. They said they're not looking for jail time, but do you think it could get there?
Ultimately, it's possible, but look, the whole point with the punishment for these violations is deterrence, right? To stop the defendant from doing this again. And it's weird because Trump's team almost seems to be angling for jail time, in which case, would that even be a deterrent if he does get in jail? And then obviously there's the huge First Amendment issue, not just of Trump not being able to campaign, but it's also been ruled that it could possibly be a First Amendment violation to the public to not see their own presidential candidate campaigning. So I think it's tricky. It's ultimately the judge's discretion, so we'll see what he decides.
He doesn't really have anything to look back on to say, oh,
Right.
this is how they handled
No
this
kidding.
before, because it's on their territory.
That's exactly right. All precedent based, all of these decisions, and there's no precedent.
All right, let's talk about today. What can we expect? What are you watching?
So we're going to see this data analyst come back, and he's going to talk more about Cohen's audio recordings and what he extracted from Michael Cohen's phone. But what I'm most interested in seeing are these other witnesses who might possibly sway the jury. When will Hope Hicks take the stand? The reason why she's so interesting is that all of these other characters who we see on this witness list are potentially very shady, right? They're involved in this very seedy world. But she was not necessarily tied to all of that. So what will she say? And then obviously waiting for that star witness, Michael Cohen, and maybe even Stormy Daniels. But again, I'm waiting to see the prosecution keep tying this back to election. Like we are really still stuck in the weeds of this hush money deal. But the felony is if it interfered with the election.
Angela Sanandela, as always, we appreciate you.
Coming up, the death toll is climbing in Brazil after heavy rains caused a dam collapse and widespread flooding. The latest on rescue efforts there.
And the Beats are back. TikTok and Universal Music Group end their dispute over royalties. Meaning the biggest artists in the world can be heard on the platform once again. We got the details up next.
We're back now with deadly flooding in southern Brazil that has killed at least 29 people and forced thousands to leave their homes. They've seen 4 days of torrential rains, causing widespread flooding and landslides, making it even harder for rescue crews to get to those who are stranded. NBC News international correspondent Matt Bradley reports.
The deadly flooding disaster in Brazil. Days of heavy rains across the southern state of Rio Grande do Sul, triggering massive floods. Emergency crews using helicopters to airlift stranded residents to safety.
Infelizmente, está o maior desastre que o nosso estado já tenha enfrentado.
Aerial footage shows mudslides flowing down mountains, smashing into homes, gaping holes left in roads, others completely overrun. Even this animal caught up in the raging current. The floods leaving more than 20 missing and forcing thousands to flee their homes.
A gente não sabe como que vai estar a casa da gente, as coisas da gente, e tanto trabalho a gente passa, né, no dia a dia para construir, né, e para conseguir comprar. E aí agora chegar do nada e a gente ter perdido tudo, né?
Local authorities now calling on the federal government for assistance. The president of Brazil, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, touching down in the region, greeting officials on the ground.
Eu quero dizer para vocês que não faltará, da parte do governo federal, ajuda para cuidar da saúde.
A region desperate for assistance as it tries to keep its head above water.
Our thanks to Matt Bradley for that report.
Let's hit you more international news now. British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's government is facing some disastrous local election results across the pond this morning.
NBC News international correspondent Claudio Lavanga has that and other world headlines. Claudio, good morning.
Sure, Savannah, good morning. Well, that's right. On Thursday, millions of voters cast their ballots across England and Wales in a series of local elections, but they are seen as a major test to the UK government. Now, results are still coming in, but there are already heavy losses for Rishi Sunak's Conservative Party, with all indicators suggesting that it will be ousted from power after 14 years in the next general election. That will happen between now and January. Let's go to Haiti now, where Thursday gangs laid siege to several neighborhoods in the capital, Port-au-Prince. Armed gang members exchanged fire with police and set fire to homes, forcing residents to flee the violence. People were seen leaving the affected areas on foot, motorcycles, or small buses. This is the biggest attack in the capital since Haiti's new prime minister was announced. And let's end this tour of the world in Indonesia, where scientists observed an orangutan successfully healing a deep-faced wound with a medical tropical plant. The orangutan, called Rucus, chewed on a medical plant used in Southern Asia to treat pain and inflammation. Then he applied it with his fingers to an injury on the cheek. He then pressed it against the wound like a makeshift bandage. Scientists say this proves that some animals are able to soothe their own with remedies found in the wild. Up to you guys.
It's like an orangutan dermatologist. Because they're doing Botox treatments now. Goodbye, everyone.
Everybody. I just thought it was so cute and cool, but that was really Claudia, thank you.
Coming up, women in pole position.
That's right, my one-on-one with Susie Wolf, the managing director of Formula One's all-female racing championship, how she's breaking barriers and showing young women anything is possible. That's up next.
It is no longer a question of whether the phenomena is real. It is now about what we are documenting at Skinwalker Ranch.
This is unlike any experiment we've done before.
3, 2, 1.
What is inside the mesa?
It's like jelly.
That can't be, but it is.
What is that?
The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch. New episode Tuesday at 9. Part of History Strange and Unusual. Only on the History Channel. And watch next day on the History Channel app.
Welcome back. Susie Wolf spent decades racing to the finish line in the male-dominated world of motorsports. Well, now she's sitting in a new kind of driver's seat. She's leading the all-female Formula One Academy. And history will be made this weekend in Miami when speedy women from all over the world will rev up their engines for their junior-level women's championship. I got to sit down with Wolf to talk about this big first and what it takes to shatter glass ceilings one engine at a time.
Formula One racing is having a moment. And right alongside it, F1 Academy.
It was basically born of a desire to make what is perceived as a very male-dominated sport a little bit more diverse.
They're doing that by bringing women to the sport with this junior-level female-only racing championship.
We can really jump onto one of the biggest sporting platforms in the world. And we have 10 Formula One teams on board.
The hope is more women make it just as far as the men do in this sport. Just like F1 Academy's managing director, Susie Wolf, a professional racing driver herself, who made history in 2014 by becoming the first woman to participate in a Formula One race weekend in 22 years.
Do you remember moments where you felt like the only woman in the room?
Many moments. But I never let the noise around my gender distract me, because I realized early on that performance is power. As long as I was quick enough, as long as I performed, everything else around my gender would fade away. Motorsport has never been segregated. We don't believe it should be, but we believe in giving opportunity to young female talent so that we see more women participating in the sport.
Do you think a lot of people even realize that it's not meant to be segregated? It just is that we don't see a lot of women doing it.
It's sometimes not actually known, the fact that women can race with men. It's never been segregated, but in a racing car it comes down to a lot more than just your muscle mass. There's no reason why women can't compete at the very top, and certainly I made it to Formula One as a test driver, and I certainly believe that, having driven the car, that it's possible.
How important is it for these young women to see someone doing what they ultimately want to be doing, to have that representation?
I believe it's hugely important. Sometimes in life you have to see it to believe it. We want everybody to see that 21-year-old girl zipping up her Ferrari race suit, that 22-year-old zipping up her Mercedes race suit, because that image can be super powerful in terms of inspiring the next generation.
What does success look like for you with F1 Academy?
Success is not just about more women participating on track. I think we want to open up the whole sport. We want to become a movement which shows how diverse the sport can be. We want to create opportunity, and if you have a daughter that has that passion, that loves speed, or that is very mechanically driven, or loves STEM subjects, this should be seen as a career path, or at least a possibility for her.
For a young girl who's watching this, who might be interested in this, what do you want her to know?
I want her to know, please watch F1 Academy. We're racing this weekend in Miami, and whatever you love about this sport, if you could imagine yourself having a passion for being an engineer, a mechanic, or even a racing driver.
So she actually told me in just this one year, this one season so far that they've had F1 Academy, that they have already seen a difference, the number of girls who are joining karting it's called, which is essentially the first step to being F1, has increased exponentially. And she said it really is making girls see they can do this too, because there's no reason there's not a woman driving in F1.
Absolutely not. It totally makes sense.
Yeah.
It's great to see that they actually have something in place and that it's actually working and getting more girls involved.
And she
young
said,
women.
parents, let your daughters think this can be a career path for me.
That's some good advice. I like
There you
that.
go.
Very cool. Thanks for that. Believe it or not, the cutthroat competition to snag a spot at the most exclusive restaurants in New York is creating a new industry. Some aspiring diners will pay hundreds of dollars on an app to get a reservation. As you can imagine, not everyone is happy about this new way of getting a seat at some very fashionable hotspots. NBC News correspondent Stephen Rummel has the story.
The bustling streets of New York City promise some of the best eats in the world. But for everyday New Yorkers and tourists looking to get a taste, dining at the hottest restaurants in the city has become nearly impossible.
Brunch, I think, is the most difficult time. I usually try going and lining up right before they open.
Unless, that is, you're willing to pay up. Not just for the food and drinks, which can easily cost hundreds, but simply to snag a seat at the table.
If you make things available, people will pay money for it.
Enter sites like Appointment Trader, which can get you into trendy spots like Port Charles, Carbone, and Polo Bar for hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars. Creator Jonas Frey says the idea was born in line at the DMV.
It was a long line. I was wondering, how is it possible that I can't pay to get an appointment? There must be demand for this.
But the site's main business quickly shifted to restaurants. I'm on the popular reservation site Resy right now, which is free to use, but there are no reservations available coming up here. I can put in my email, though, and hope there's a cancellation. Or if I want to spend some money, I can go to Appointment Trader, where I can find some reservations available, but it's going to cost me anywhere from $55 up to $300 just to get a table. So here's how it works. Behind the scenes, the platform's 15,000 sellers are scooping up the best reservations. Then users come in and place their bids. The higher the demand, the higher the final price tag. Alex Eisler is a top seller who says he's earned more than $100,000 since October 2022, but he doesn't live anywhere near New York City.
This semester, I purposely have my Tuesdays with nothing, no classes. So I choose it as kind of like my reservation day.
Finding time between classes at Brown University, using dozens of reservation accounts, emails, program bots, and even using different voices when calling.
I set alarms on my phone to remind me sometimes, just go on Resy or for calling Polo Bar. And then also it's the same with when someone cancels a reservation, I either have a bot which can automatically get it for me, or I can just do it myself. I had a lot of accounts terminated.
But are these reservation sellers stealing all the best spots?
I mean, I feel like people are upset, but I feel like it's people who, as I said before, it's not like it was easy to get a reservation before.
Appointment Trader says $5.7 million worth of reservations have been sold in the last 12 months, with customers spending an average of $20,000 a day in recent weeks. The majority of that money goes to the sellers, with the site taking a 20 to 30% cut. But what do the restaurants who don't get a cut of the trade think of this growing business?
If it were up to me, I wouldn't want to allow reservations to be sold, just so guests can have a fair chance.
Syria Alvarez is the restaurant manager at Tatiana, consistently topping the list of best restaurants in the city. Led by Chef Kwame Onwachi, a Top Chef alum and recipient of the James Beard Rising Star Award, Tatiana's menu combines his Afro-Caribbean heritage with his New York City upbringing, and the popularity is off the charts.
It doesn't surprise me that the price would be so high to sell and buy reservations because of the high demand. Having a wait list of 1,200 plus people a day, I can imagine why it would be that rate.
But Alvarez says buying and selling reservations seems like it will give fewer people, not more, a seat at the table. What do you think the future holds?
Reservation sites are cracking down on bots, so I'm not sure how long that will last. I hope that everyone will be able to get a fair chance.
If you're willing to wait, though, or even pay, it could just be worth it. When you hear from these customers, do they say, yeah, it was worth waiting a year for these reservations?
Once they are able to join us, the feedback is amazing. Guests always tell us that the wait was definitely worth it.
Stephen Romo, NBC News.
Very strong feelings on this. I think it's the worst of technology. I think it's exploiting class. I just hate that we're seeing that.
Well, and it's just not really possible to get reservations anymore. Bots are doing it, so then this can be sold. It really is an issue.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So that's not the solution. I hope
No.
not. So hopefully they figure out a way around it. We're gonna have our soapboxes now.
Now renters from Morris here in the market for a new place. Now may be the best time to start apartment hunting.
I'm gonna get sound out by this too. Just kidding. Our expert Caleb Silver is here with everything you need to know. Stay with us. You're watching Morning News now. Welcome back. Finding a place to live has been a struggle for millions of people in the wake of the pandemic, with prices skyrocketing for both renters and home buyers.
Yeah.
But this morning, there is some good news, at least for renters.
Yeah, home rental price growth is finally slowing to pre-pandemic levels. And while rental prices as a whole are still going up in most cities, the rate of growth is easing up. That's just one side of the story because home prices are still on the rise. Interest rates remain high. We did not get a cut this week. Supply remains low.
For more, we're joined by Investopedia editor-in-chief and esteemed friend of the show, Caleb Silver. Caleb, good to have you with us. So let's start with the bad news. This isn't shocking, but affordability when it comes to homes, lowest level in 40 years. Yeah. Do we have any idea when relief is in sight? Is it just interest rates or are there other factors?
No, it's interest rates and it's prices. Home prices are still up 6.4% year over year. The biggest spike, your hometown of San Diego keeps rising 11.4% year over year. Everybody wants the tacos in the wave. But it is this tight supply. It is the fact that interest rates are high. There's not a lot of people selling their home because they don't want to get into a more expensive mortgage. So you have that supply issue. So that the prices continue to rise, especially in major cities around the country. But we are seeing a little bit of relief finally in the rental market where you said it. The rate of growth is slowing, and that's important.
If you are looking to buy a home anyway, remind us what we got to do. How do you get ready for that?
Yeah, you got to have your paperwork ready, right? You got to have your credit score ready. You got to have your lending and borrowing documents ready and be ready to close quickly because when this opens up, it's going to move very, very quickly, especially in markets where you have that median price around $420,000. But also have those closing costs ready. People don't realize it's not just the price you pay. It's not just the mortgage. There's about $25,000, $30,000, $40,000 in closing costs. Be ready to close quickly. Be ready with a down payment. Be ready.
It is going to be so competitive when this loosens up, right? Yeah, okay. Let's talk about the good news you mentioned, which is renting. Is now a good time to lock in your lease, especially if you're new, if you're trying to figure out what to do?
Yeah, because the rate of growth is slowing, and then supply. Rental is all about supply on the market. There's about 510,000 available rental units in the country. Sounds like a lot, but not when you think about how many people live in this country. So supply should open up a little bit more. As supply opens, and we go into the summer, usually you see that. You see prices start to fall in some places, and we finally seen it relax a little bit in places like Austin, Texas, which was red hot. Everybody was moving to Austin, San Antonio, and the rate of growth is really slowing in Portland and Dallas, but it's still high in places like Providence, Louisville, Kentucky, Cleveland, and Hartford and Boston. A lot of rent pressure there, supply low, and very hard to get into a home. So if you have a lease and you like that rate, lock it in if you can today. Extend for another year or two. Tell your landlord, we want to be here because we don't know which direction rental prices are going to go. There stops. The rate of growth is slowing. That doesn't mean they're going to come way down.
So we just had this conversation the other day with our friend Christine Romans, our senior business correspondent here, and she was kind of talking about that dichotomy of like in some places buying a house is definitely going to be the right call versus renting, but kind of for the first time in a lot of places renting is actually going to save you money. Is this true that sort of you need to think about geographically where you're at and which of those two choices makes the most sense?
Geographically and also where you're at from an income perspective, right? It may make more sense to rent that opportunity cost to save a little bit of money and invest that or put it away for something else so you can buy down the road. So in some cases, it does make sense to keep renting if you're locked in at a low rent rather than jumping into a high mortgage. And then your home affordability, your income versus how much it costs to pay that monthly cost is going to be way off the charts. You're going to suffer in some other areas.
And when more people start buying homes, hopefully that helps rental prices.
Exactly. They are like this, seesaws, right? More activity here in the buyer's market, then it loosens up in the rental market.
All right, Caleb Silver, as always, thank you so much. Good to
Thank
see
you
you.
very much. Well, now let's get to the latest on the Idaho quadruple murder. The suspect, Brian Koberger, his defense lawyers and prosecutors returned to the courtroom Thursday.
Koberger's legal team claims that prosecutors are not handing over key pieces of evidence in the discovery process, including a video that allegedly places the suspect's car at the scene of the crime. NBC News correspondent Aaron McLaughlin has the details.
Hey there, suspect Brian Koberger was back in court yesterday. The prosecution forcefully denied those defense claims that they're purposefully withholding information, saying it was, quote, utter nonsense. The judge admonished both sides and decided to close a future discovery hearing. All this as the clock keeps ticking with no trial date set.
Court should ask itself, what is the state trying to hide here?
Brian Koberger's legal team blasting the state of Idaho, claiming prosecutors are withholding information. The defense says they need to do their job, including key pieces of a video described in the charging affidavit that allegedly shows a car matching Koberger's at the scene of the murders.
We have received little tiny pieces of that.
Koberger's lawyers also arguing that an upcoming hearing to compel that discovery and more should be open to the public. Prosecutors insist it should be closed and vehemently deny that it's keeping materials from the defense.
Characterization that we're just consciously withholding information to frustrate the defense is utter nonsense. I can tell you, many of the things that the defendant is trying to itemize, when we talk to our people, they say that doesn't exist.
Koberger is charged with the murders of 4 University of Idaho students in their off-campus home: Madison Mogan, Kaylee Gonsalves, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin. A judge entered a not guilty plea on Koberger's behalf. A year and a half on, a trial date has yet to be set. As tensions mount between the legal teams, the judge urged both sides to lower the temperature.
Well, I don't want this pointing of fingers back and forth. You can argue all you want, but when it starts to be personal, it's destructive.
The family of Kaylee Gonsalves demanding justice, saying in a statement, "This banter has been going on for 17 months, and the case is turning into a hamster wheel of motions, hearings, and delayed decisions." The judge set the next hearing for May 14th to discuss the surveillance video and other discovery, and sided with the prosecution, ruling the hearing will be closed to the public.
Well, it's looking like the trial will happen sometime next year, possibly next spring. There's a change of venue hearing scheduled for the end of June. Remember, this is a death penalty case, which complicates things. Meanwhile, all the victims' families can do is watch and wait, and it's agonizing for them. Back to you.
Of course, Aaron, thank you so much.
Coming up, Caitlin Clark Mania coming to the WNBA.
Yeah, Clark is set to make her professional debut tonight in the Indiana Fever's first preseason game, and fans are going wild. We are bringing you all the excitement up next.
An opioid is a type of drug used to reduce pain. An opioid emergency happens when too much of the drug overwhelms the brain and interrupts the body's natural drive to breathe. Opioid emergencies are a fast-moving epidemic affecting people nationwide, regardless of age, gender, or location. However, negative attitudes driven by stigma may hinder one from being prepared to help save a life. People may think, it could never happen to me, or I don't know anyone who could overdose. But chances are, they do. And even if they don't, they can still be ready to make a difference. An opioid emergency can happen to anyone: a child, a parent, a friend. It's time to change the way we think and talk about opioid emergencies. And it starts with a simple message: you have the power to save a life.
Welcome back. The kids from one of the best-loved comedies of the 90s, Mrs. Doubtfire, have reunited. Mara Wilson shared this photo with Lisa Yacoub and Matthew Lawrence. It's been 31 years since they first appeared together in the classic movie, where Robin Williams played a dad who pretends to be a Scottish man so he could spend more time with his kids. Yacoub wrote that she and Wilson and Lawrence still feel like siblings. Mrs. Doubtfire was actually the second biggest release in 1993, with only Jurassic Park grossing more. We always love to see these reunions decades later.
I'm just like giggling with how much I love that movie, and it's been so long since I've seen it. That's a good reminder. We should add that to our can't miss list coming up. All right. Anyway, your favorite music is finally coming back to TikTok. The app and Universal Music Group announced yesterday that they've reached a deal over royalty payments when creators use an artist's songs in their videos.
The agreement ends a months-long standoff, and it basically means you can once again create videos featuring music from artists like Drake, Ariana Grande, Billie Eilish, and yes, even Taylor Swift.
Kristen Robinson is a senior writer at Billboard, and she joins us now with more on all this. Kristen, good morning. Thanks for joining us. So what did both sides come to the table with that ultimately ended this?
Yeah, so basically there were three core issues at the center of all of this. So UMG had particular issues with the way that TikTok was trying to pay for the music. They thought it was too low. They also had issues with artist safety on the platform, and they also had issues with artificial intelligence. There's a lot of deepfakes that go around on TikTok. So this new agreement addresses all three of those things and includes improvements in all three of those areas. So it seems like both sides were pretty happy with this deal, but there's a lot of details we still don't know, given it was a private agreement.
So, Kristen, we know UMG artists were still allowed to upload their music to the app. We saw Taylor Swift do that to promote her new album. Did the ban make much of a difference in terms of folks using it?
I do think it did, yeah. And Taylor was a unique case, as she always is. Taylor got to, have this new relationship with TikTok separately, but for most artists, they were not allowed to upload their music. The music still lived on TikTok through what's called original sounds, which is when a user will upload kind of a bootlegged audio that includes a copyright in the meantime. So that was still happening. So you'd still find these like sped up versions made by users or remixes of UMG artists. Those were not supposed to be on the platform though. Taylor Swift is a unique case. So I do think this did have an impact on users, and it certainly had an impact on artists who are releasing music, singles or albums during this time. So I think everyone's pretty happy that this has all come to an end and that everyone seems to be in a better relationship with each other now.
Obviously, the other big headline with TikTok as of late has been the fact that the president signed into law this potential ban if the app is not divested from its Chinese parent company. Did that come into play here? Was that addressed at all in this deal?
It really wasn't. I think the only thing that might have been addressed that could be helpful is that there's improved measures for artist safety, anti-bullying, helping with prevention of deepfakes, stuff like that. But I do think hits the core of privacy issues. But for the most part, when I hear people talking about what's going on in the music business with TikTok, it doesn't really touch what's going on at the same time with Congress.
With what happened with TikTok and Universal, do we expect to see more of this with other companies out there, with other labels, as they try and figure out this whole new world of streaming and try to make as much money as they can for artists, or it feels like the pie is getting smaller and smaller?
Yeah, so this would be considered social media licensing, and that's a very important and very growing part of the music business and their income moving forward. So people are taking this really seriously. I think a lot of people are very hopeful that, since Universal Music Group has gotten a better deal, even though no one's really allowed to know exactly what's within that deal, as other licenses come up for renewal for different labels, they're hoping that they have a little bit more of a leg to stand on when they're asking for better remuneration for their artists, better safety, better AI measures. So I think overall this will probably have a positive impact.
All right, Kristen Robinson, thanks for joining us. Interesting stuff.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
The wait is finally over for basketball fans. In just a few hours, Caitlin Clark will make her WNBA debut with the Indiana Fever in their first preseason matchup against the Dallas Wings.
Yeah, but if you were hoping to grab a last-minute ticket, well, too bad, so sad. It is already sold out. That's because, of course, this excitement comes just weeks after Clark secured the #1 overall pick in the league's draft and dominated the NCAA Women's Championship with the Iowa Hawkeyes. NBC News correspondent Priscilla Thompson joins us from Arlington, Texas, to break down all the excitement. Priscilla, good morning.
Yeah, Savannah, Joe, good morning. As you all mentioned, these stands are going to be packed in just a few hours as Caitlin Clark steps onto this court to make her WNBA debut. And already some opposing teams are moving their games to larger venues to accommodate for all of the fanfare as number 22 begins her next chapter.
I'm just excited to get playing.
A generational rookie ready to take the court for her very first game in the pros.
I've been playing my best basketball of my life, and hopefully, just being able to replicate that in this league.
With the first pick and #1 overall draft pick Caitlin Clark making her WNBA debut tonight with the Indiana Fever in one of the league's most anticipated preseason games ever.
I feel like she's done amazing for the game of basketball.
After an iconic record-setting college career at Iowa, Clark acknowledging the leap to the big stage may not be easy.
People I'm going to be playing in this league are full-grown, very strong women. Getting used to that physicality of the game will probably be one of the biggest things for myself to overcome.
But like one of her long-range threes, number 22 will let it fly.
I'm going to see what's going to work and what's not going to work at this level, and then just refine that and continue to add things that are going to make me better.
The Fever are already feeling the Clark effect at practice.
I think the great thing about her is that she makes everybody better on the court.
And at the box office.
How many tickets were you looking for?
According to StubHub, 9 of the 10 highest in-demand WNBA games this season feature the Fever, with lower-level seats for tonight's game going for more than $600.
She has just made it explode, and it's fun to watch.
Friday's marquee matchup, the latest milestone in a whirlwind month for the 22-year-old. In the week since coming up short in the national title game against South Carolina, Clark was drafted by the Fever, made the media rounds.
Hi, I'm Caitlin Clark, guard for the Indiana Fever.
Hit the court for training camp, shared laughs with her new teammates at a photo shoot, and even celebrated her 1-year anniversary with boyfriend Connor McCaffrey. Writing on Instagram, "You make every day better, and I can't wait for many more adventures together." Now, with her next adventure just hours away, a player who has already revolutionized the game, ready to sink her next big shot.
There are going to be challenges along the way, and that's what I signed up for, and that's what's going to make this really fun.
And guys, although I did not make my middle school basketball game, I got cut, but I am feeling the Caitlin Clark effect, so I'm going to take the shot.
Again. You get another shot. Actually, you get as many as it takes.
Oh my God, okay, wait, no, okay, one more.
I feel like we might be cursed here in morning news now.
Yes.
All right. That is the first basket made in about 20 attempts on our show.
First of all, and about 17 of those were Jesse Kirsch, and not one went in. So sorry, Jesse.
I've been practicing all morning, okay?
Well, we are grateful for you.
Priscilla, I bet you could take it from farther back. You got this, girl.
Your middle school team is
You think so? Okay, Savannah is giving me confidence. I love this. We're gonna I redeem myself.
That was nothing but net, girl. Priscilla, amazing.
Okay.
Just so you know, Priscilla, you can
They don't call me Caitlin Clark Jr. for nothing.
And you have license to rub that in Jesse Kirsch's face. We love you. Thank you.
Thank you, Priscilla. Appreciate it. That will do it for this very entertaining hour of morning news now.
Yeah, it's feeling like a Friday, huh?
Yeah.
The news continues right now. Don't go anywhere.
Looks like you need a vacation. Just enter 5-Hour Energy's Where Will the Tide Take You sweepstakes. You could win a $10,000 dream beach vacation. Go to 5HETide.com to enter. Enter today and find out where the tide will take you.
Good morning. Welcome to Friday. Thanks for being here. I'm Savannah Sellers.
I'm Joe Fryer right now on Morning News Now, trying to restore order in the face of violence on college campuses across the country. President Biden finally responding to the protest movement after days of silence, harshly condemning some of the protesters.
There should be no place on any campus, no place in America for anti-Semitism or threats of violence against Jewish students. For our civil society, an order must prevail.
Got team coverage in just a moment as arrests by law enforcement nationwide top 2,000. State of emergency, many Texans are waking up to threats of even more wild weather. Severe storms now tearing through parts of the Lone Star State, bringing strong winds, hail, and reports of tornadoes. On the ground as mandatory evacuations are ordered in areas ravaged by floodwaters. Also this morning, swiping shakeup as dating apps try to avoid getting ghosted by younger users. We're talking to Bumble's new CEO about her big relaunch of the app. That includes the major decision to rethink its defining feature and let men, rather than women, make the first move. And grab your comically large hats, break out those mint juleps, because later in the hour, we are counting down to the 150th running of the Kentucky Derby. More on that, plus all the movies, shows, and music you need to know about for the weekend in our can't miss list. That was a joke. It just takes like a couple minutes to watch the Kentucky Derby on Saturday. You flip it on.
That comes with mint juleps for us.
Exactly.
It's a Friday.
It's Friday. I don't know. I don't.
Doubtful.
Getting mint julep? No, we're not getting mint
We're asking Jillian.
No, not happening.
Her boss in here.
All right, we're going to begin this hour with the pro-Palestinian protests sweeping college campuses across the country. Police are continuing to confront demonstrators who are calling for a ceasefire in Gaza and for their schools to stop doing business with Israel.
Protests are ongoing at college campuses nationwide following yesterday's extraordinary police operation at UCLA. We brought you right here on Morning News Now. More than 200 people ultimately were arrested. NBC's Liz Kreutz has the latest out of Los Angeles.
Hey there, yeah, here at UCLA, it's a much different scene than it was just 24 hours ago. But just to show how volatile things are right now, in New York, the NYPD has just begun moving into NYU to begin removing the encampment there, the university requesting NYPD to come in. And this just highlights how intense things are on college campuses right now as more crackdowns begin.
Outside UCLA's landmark Royce Hall this morning, little remains of the pro-Palestinian protest encampment. Police making more than 200 arrests early Thursday morning after moving in with overwhelming force. Demonstrators, many of them in hard hats and gas masks, appearing to resist.
How do I feel? I've never felt more proud of myself or my community.
In recent weeks, protest action spreading across more than 60 campuses. And yesterday, a scary scene at Portland State University. Video showing a car driving towards a pro-Palestinian protest. The driver then appearing to spray pepper spray toward the crowd. Portland State Police say a man was detained on a mental health hold. Meanwhile, there have been 30 arrests of protesters at Portland State, police clearing its graffiti-filled library. Early this morning, across the country, at the epicenter of the protest, demonstrators gathering outside the hall of Columbia University's president. Just days after the raid on the school's campus, documented on newly released police body cam footage. Showing police breaking into the occupied Hamilton Hall and going through the protesters' setup, including a board with the slogan, "Political power comes from the barrel of a gun." Student activists say the NYPD's response was excessive.
The people were nothing but peaceful.
The NYPD chief of patrol defending the police, writing the actions of the protesters were an abject failure of how civilized people are expected to behave in society while continually acting like a perpetual victim. And officials have said outside agitators were among the demonstrators. Of the 282 people arrested at Columbia and the City College of New York, the NYPD and mayor's office say nearly half were not affiliated with those schools. By NBC News' count, more than 2,100 arrests have been made nationwide.
And as the NYPD moves into NYU, there's a big question right now about who should be paying for all of this, both the law enforcement response and the cleanup. The New York Mayor Adams has said that he believes Columbia University and other private institutions should be paying for at least some of this. Here at UCLA, a public university, there are estimates that the cost of the law enforcement response alone over the past 2 days could be in the multi-millions. Back to you.
All right, Liz, thank you so much. President Biden made his first public comments about those campus protests. After days of silence on the issue, the president condemned violent behavior while defending the right to protest peacefully. NBC News Chief White House correspondent Peter Alexander joins us with more on that. Peter, good morning.
Joe, good to see you. These are, as you noted, the first substantive comments from the president since the scenes of these confrontations on campuses exploded. The president defending students' right to protest, but really condemning the violence, trying to draw this clear line between dissent and disorder. With the chaos on campuses dominating the political debate, President Biden is now trying to diffuse the ongoing violence.
Destroying property is not a peaceful protest. It's a matter of what's right. There's the right to protest, but not the right to cause chaos.
The president responding to growing political pressure, walking a fine line between the right to free speech and his desire for law and order.
People have the right to get an education, the right to get a degree, the right to walk across the campus safely without fear of being attacked.
Later saying he will not call in the National Guard and rejecting protesters' demands for changes to his Middle East policy.
Has the protest forced you to reconsider any of the policies with regard to the region?
No.
Among Democrats' concerns, fears of eroding support from younger voters who would be key to the president's re-election this fall. The College Democrats of America, the official collegiate branch of the DNC, warning their votes are not to be taken for granted by the Democratic Party, adding, "We reserve the right to criticize our party when it fails to listen to us." A day after praising the NYPD for its crackdown at Columbia University, former President Trump accused President Biden of being absent on the issue. Other Republicans have also attacked the president for not responding sooner.
What we really need, though, is moral clarity and leadership on campus and out of the White House. We have laws on the books that just need to be enforced.
In denouncing the violence, President Biden said anti-Semitism has no place in America and is set to deliver a speech on that topic during a Holocaust memorial ceremony next week. And multiple people familiar with the president's decision tell NBC News that after silence, President Biden's choice to speak really is an acknowledgement that it was simply unavoidable to stay quiet for much longer. The bottom line here, Joe, is that the White House strongly believes ending the war in Gaza is the best solution to the challenges at home, aggressively pushing for that ceasefire, including the release of the hostages, among them Americans. But of course, it's still unclear how soon that'll happen, Joe.
All right, Peter, thank you.
And while those protests continue here at home, ceasefire negotiations between Israel and Hamas are continuing. Hamas leaders say they're sending delegates back to Cairo to discuss the latest Israeli proposal. The move comes as the U.S. urges both sides to finish this deal as quickly as possible. NBC News international correspondent Raf Sanchez is in Tel Aviv with the details of these negotiations. Raf, good morning.
Savannah, good morning. For days, Israel, the U.S., and the world have been waiting for Hamas to respond to this latest ceasefire proposal. Israel says it is prepared to delay an attack on the city of Rafah if a hostage deal can be reached. But with every passing day, there are more and more signs that assault is coming.
This morning, as Israeli forces ready for an all-out assault on Rafah, fears the time is running out to reach a ceasefire deal. Despite American opposition to an attack, Prime Minister Netanyahu vowing we'll do whatever is necessary to win and overcome our enemies, including in Rafah. Hamas says an offensive on the city where more than 1 million Palestinian civilians are sheltering would be the end of negotiations. But Hamas has not given a clear answer to the latest ceasefire proposal, saying instead they'll send a team to Egypt as soon as possible to complete the ongoing discussions.
It's Hamas that is the only barrier to a ceasefire right now, an immediate ceasefire, and we are waiting their response.
Under intense U.S. pressure, Israel is allowing more aid into Gaza by land, while the U.S. military is working on a temporary pier to get food in by sea. The White House says it'll be operational in days. Overnight, the defense secretary saying there's no indication Hamas plans to attack U.S. forces.
Having said that, Phil, this is a combat zone, and a number of things can happen, a number of things will happen.
While a new UN report finds it could take 80 years to rebuild Gaza after 8 months of Israeli bombing. In Rafah, Aya Abu Saif and her sons are looking for water. It isn't clean, and it makes the kids sick, but it's all they have. Her husband Tawfiq was once the breadwinner, but lost his leg to an Israeli attack in February. I'm 25 years old, but I feel 85, she says. I swear, this war has taught us a lot. Bitter lessons no child should have to learn.
Now, one of the key sticking points in these negotiations is whether this is a deal for a temporary pause in the fighting, which is what Israel wants, or a deal to end the war altogether, which is what Hamas wants. And trying to bridge the gap there is one of the major obstacles to an agreement right now. So, Dan.
All right, Raph, thank you.
The criminal trial against former President Trump continues here in New York this morning after an eventful day. Thursday saw prosecutors bring forward 4 more statements from Trump that they say violated the judge's gag order. Then a former lawyer for Stormy Daniels took the stand with information crucial to the hush money deal.
Keith Davidson recounted the deal struck to suppress Daniels' claims she had a sexual encounter with Trump. He was her attorney, but Davidson faced cross-examination from the former president's lawyers who attempted to paint him as a multi-million-dollar celebrity extortionist by bringing up other cases he had been involved with.
NBC News correspondent Yasmin Masukian joins us now from outside the courthouse with the latest. Yasmin, good morning. So let's start with those alleged additional violations of Trump's gag order. Last week, it was pretty clear during the hearing how the judge felt about it. What did the judge have to say yesterday?
It was clear yesterday morning as well, Joe. Good morning to both of you, by the way. So there was 4 potential violations cited by the prosecution here, 2 regarding Michael Cohen, 1 regarding David Pecker, 1 regarding the jury. When it came to Michael Cohen, essentially the former president said on 2 different instances that Michael Cohen was a liar. You couldn't trust any of his testimony if, in fact, he were to take the stand in this trial. When it came to David Pecker, he said he was a nice guy. And then with the jury, he said 95% of the jury is Democrats. At one point, he said that publicly. So while there was a lot of back and forth during the hearing yesterday morning when it came to that gag order, it seemed as if the judge was leaning more towards finding the former president in violation of the gag order when it comes to what he said about the jury. 95% of the jury being Democrats. That is what the former president alleged and said. When it comes to Michael Cohen, he seemed more on the fence about that. And David Pecker, he actually said yesterday morning he was less concerned with what the former president said about David Pecker. I will say that the former president's attorneys tried to argue throughout this gag order hearing that essentially Michael Cohen shouldn't have protections under the gag order because Michael Cohen seems to be baiting the former president. And every time he does, the former president should have the right to defend himself. Whether or not that's going to come to fruition is really the question, because either way, the gag order is far sweeping, saying essentially the former president cannot attack anybody on the jury or the jury as a body and or any witnesses or potential witnesses that may in fact take the stand. Timing wise, when we're going to get a decision on this, last time it took about 7 days, so we're expecting the same time period for this. It could be any day and or a week from yesterday, guys.
Yes, now let's turn to the testimony of Keith Davidson. So as we mentioned, this is the man who represented the 2 women at the center of the trial, Stormy Daniels and Karen McDougal. The testimony included a memorable exchange on 2016 election night. This is after the Trump victory. Tell us the big takeaways there.
It was a huge moment, guys, and a major takeaway. I know Andrew Weissman, who appears a lot on MSNBC, he was outside with me yesterday, and we talked a lot about this on camera. He was inside the courtroom yesterday as well. But it was this really big moment in which there was an acknowledgement of kind of what they did. And I'll walk you through it quickly. So Keith Davidson essentially messages Dylan Howard, the head of the National Enquirer, and says, what have we done? And acknowledging and recognizing the former president had in fact won the election on the night of 2016, in November of 2016. And Dylan Howard writes back, my God. And so essentially it was an acknowledgement that they felt as if they were working at the direction of, working for the president. What I mean by that is Keith Davidson in his testimony had talked about how he felt as if Michael Cohen was working at the direction of Donald Trump, right? That is the crux of the case, right? Was Michael Cohen acting on his own volition, and or was he working at the direction of the former president? And did the former president subsequently falsify his business records when paying off Michael Cohen after Michael Cohen paid Stormy Daniels and also Karen McDougal, right? This acknowledgement, this exchange on election night was really telling of what was happening during that time period. Also the time period, the timeline, I should say, of the email exchanges beginning with October 26th, guys, 14 days before the election in November, leading up to election night as well, is when all of this started, all the exchanges about whether or not they're going to pay off Stormy Daniels. And that was also just 2 weeks after the release of the Access Hollywood tape back in October of 2016.
A lot happening yesterday. Yasmin, real quick, what can we expect when court resumes today?
So we are in cross-examination of an expert witness called by the DA, who's kind of digging into all the tech stuff, right? So much of the evidence here is about messages. It's about emails. It's about text messages. It's about phone calls. The prosecution wants to be able to verify for the jury how it is they were able to obtain so much of this information, right? So much of these text messages, of these emails, and of these phone calls. We're going to continue with that cross-examination. There'll likely be a recross from the prosecution after that. And then the next witness will be called to the stand. Again, we have no knowledge of who the next witness will be. We have a long list of individuals who we expect to be witnesses on the stand throughout this 4 to 6 week period in which we're going to be watching this trial. But who it is, as of this moment, we don't know.
All right, Yasmin, thank you so much.
Let's turn on to the extreme weather that's expected to impact millions in parts of the central and southern plains. It comes as several tornadoes were reported in Texas, causing significant damage to several homes. Meanwhile, thousands in Houston are waking up without power after mandatory evacuations were ordered there due to heavy rain and flooding. NBC News correspondent Kathy Park joins us now from Harris County, Texas with the latest. Kathy, good morning.
At Crystal Farms, farm and family are at the heart of everything we do.
This is the one who keeps it moving. He stocks the right parts and knows just where to find them.
Cyber stocking, no, don't say that.
Business. The industrial grade products you need. Call, click, or stop by. Grainger.
And put Sunshine Brew on it because I fucking logged out of the fucking internet off the PlayStation. You can't log back in once you did that, so they can't go
Hey, Savannah, good morning to you. That's right. Creeks and rivers here.
fucking put anything fucking like that on there. I'll get fucking countersued and fucking jailed up for this stupid fucking shit. They're able to fucking carry on with this fucking lives and do creepy shit to people. Fucking have no lives in that creepy shit.
The San Jacinto River right now, which continues to rise. And last night, officials told residents here to evacuate or be prepared to be stuck for days.
I'm not a newbie fucking moron. How the fuck I have a platinum trophy for something that has my last name on it, you stupid fucking bitch.
Flooding across Texas and dramatic tornadoes touching down to
And belong to you if it fucking has my last name, have the receipt on there. Somebody will fucking goddamn sue your ass. It belongs to us, the fucking Ortega family. That's a creepy more. Your name means fucking gay Nintendo character, and old fucking Birdo means gay Nintendo.
desperate to get out. Brown says his pregnant girlfriend and his 5-year-old stepdaughter had to swim their way to safety with only the clothes on their back.
Beat your ass with this, you won't fucking get your ass beat with a fucking wooden goddamn cane, did it? Fucking goddamn shit off the tape. Well, fuck, crack the head over with this and try to fucking break it or shit. I ain't gonna use the scissors.
County declaring a disaster and
I'll fling the bucket of shit at him.
near Houston, along with those heavy
The scissors are
winds,
too fucking good for
up to
you.
10
The
tornadoes
scissors are
in
too fucking
Texas,
good for
Missouri,
somebody.
and Louisiana.
We'll fling the bucket of
And
shit at him. We'll fucking shit this bucket and fling it at him.
hit Holly.
Look at that. Yeah. Wow.
Across the South, residents cleaning up and bracing for more.
And back here in Harris County, officials say that the focus right now is response. And once the immediate threat is over, then they will tackle recovery. Flash flood watches remain in effect in the greater Houston area until 7 o'clock tonight.
All right,
Savannah?
Kathy, stay safe. Thank you very much.
So what can we expect this weekend?
Meteorologist Angela Aspen is here to tell us. Hey, Angie, good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. Kathy said it. We've got the river flooding. We've got severe storms on the way here as we finish out our work week, potentially into the weekend and definitely into early next week. We'll get to that in a moment, but let's start with what we've already dealt with. Really impressive rainfalls. You saw some of the visuals from Kathy there. Up to a foot of rain in some of these spots. We've got Livingston over 9 inches. We've got Huntsville over 9 inches. So no surprise that all of these rivers across this region are dealing with either moderate or major flooding. We've got 9 rivers right now at major flood stage, and we're expecting 17 rivers at major flood stage by the time we wrap up the weekend. So the river flood warnings likely to stay across this region here for a little while longer. We've also got the flood watches and the flash flood warnings in effect for a couple of spots, specifically parts of Texas and Louisiana. Notice where you see the red right there. Those are the flash flood warnings. 6 million people included in this. With more rain on the way way here as we get through the weekend. We've got kind of the repeated rounds of some heavy rain, some strong storms on the table for us today again, and some of those same spots that have been dealing with the back and forth kind of weather where we get a little bit of a break and then an active afternoon. Those are the same spots we're going to watch today too. Garden City, Abilene, Lubbock, and Sonora all included in the slight risk area. What does that mean? Better chance for us to see some of those stronger storms. I think where you see the green, general thunderstorms, maybe a couple of stronger storms with some large hail, an isolated tornado or two can't be ruled out. And the same goes for tomorrow. It's just an even smaller area. So notice Lubbock still included in that for tomorrow. Again, the same threats, mainly going to come in the form of hail, but we can't rule out the potential for some strong winds and a couple of tornadoes as we get through our Saturday. Big picture look for the weekend, really unsettled across much of the eastern half of the country, even the West Coast dealing with the next Pacific storm. That's going to bring some rain and snow to our friends there, even as we get into Sunday. So we'll have to watch for that. Little sunshine to celebrate Cinco de Mayo on Sunday across parts of the Midwest, but that's about it. Stormy conditions across the Gulf Coast. We've got showers around for the Northeast, and something that we'll have to deal with for folks there here as we get through the weekend. Big picture look at temperatures. Boy, is it warm. On the warm side of things for Charlottesville, upper 80s, Pittsburgh into the mid 80s. We're running 10 to 15 degrees above normal in some of these spots. But notice the coast, a little cooler. We've got an east breeze that always keeps us a little more dreary, a little cloudier and cooler for places like Ocean City and New York. You'll notice that as compared to where our temperatures were yesterday. That's going to be something that we deal with. But guys, the temperatures are going to eventually kind of cool down and we'll all be settled into a more typical pattern by the time the weekend wraps up.
Right. I just realized we have mint juleps on Saturday and margaritas on Sunday.
The Met coming up? The Met Gala?
What do you bring at the Met? Is that like a martini?
I think
so, yeah.
Very fancy.
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
You're right.
I don't know. I've never been invited, Anna.
Next year.
Thanks, Andy.
There's much more to come on this Friday edition. Again, feeling like a Friday. Morning news now. We are counting down to Derby Day. Later in the hour, we will take you to the iconic Churchill Downs ahead of the 150th running of the Kentucky Derby happening this weekend.
But first, the American tourist who was arrested in Turks and Caicos for bringing ammunition with him will learn today whether he faces jail time. Got the latest on that next. A Pennsylvania father will learn his fate today in a Turks and Caicos courtroom. American Brian Hegrich pleaded guilty to bringing multiple rounds of ammunition to the Caribbean island, but says he never meant to bring that with him. Now he faces the possibility of years behind bars. NBC's Sam Brock has been following this story. Joins us from Miami with the latest. Sam, good morning.
Yeah, Joe, good morning. It is Brian Hegrich who's on trial later today, but there are so many families who have a keen interest in what's going to happen, Joe, because his sentence could shed some light on what happens with several detained Americans, all of whom have very similar stories about accidentally carrying ammunition into the country and now facing a mandatory minimum jail sentence of 12 years behind bars. For months, American Brian Hegrich has waited to find out his fate after the husband and father of two says he accidentally brought 20 rounds of ammunition to Turks and Caicos on vacation.
I would never, ever knowingly come to a foreign country with any type of ammunition. But I did recognize that it was ammunition that I had used for deer hunting back in Pennsylvania.
That mistake could cost Hegrich and his family dearly, as the former professional baseball player hopes the judge will be swayed by circumstance and his character.
I've been nothing but cooperative throughout the whole time here. Honesty, integrity, that's me as a father, as a parent.
Turks and Caicos has already adjudicated 5 cases of charged Americans for violating a 2-year-old law with a 12-year mandatory minimum jail sentence, finding exceptional circumstances in all 5 cases, imposing fines, and in one, 8 months behind bars. But 4 men are still awaiting judgment, including Ryan Watson, also a dad who's been sharing a room with Hegrich, pondering the weight of today.
It's probably the most critical day for all of us that are currently stuck on the island. My fate is likely the fate of
I can't fire my parents. They won't fucking have something. They won't force and try to do that. They won't. They ain't gonna do that when they've been there long enough to have seniority over people that have no time telling them that when they're not the boss of them or whatever the hell. Even because the metas, people get weirded out by meta. They won't force and like judge you on meta. They won't force and tell you shit. And YouTube's weird too. They won't force and you can have like 86 viewers and get more views than somebody that had it for like the beginning of the end of time. That's just crazy.
And the Turks and Caicos government says there is no constitutional.
Oh, they can't. They don't kick a door in. I have long ass fingernails. I don't want to fucking take somebody on with long ass. They thought I was gross originally when I was on here, so.
And yes, the trial does begin today, but it could be a matter of days before we find out Hayrich's fate. Back to you.
All right, Sam. Thank you so much.
Well, China is going to the dark side.
I'm more thinner than you know. So what? I don't want to see a nasty vagina when they're all AIDS riddled and shit. No one forfeit have AIDS compared to somebody who doesn't have AIDS. You got AIDS, you don't fucking walk your fat ass around with AIDS and shit. AIDS is worse than fucking being thin. Thin is alright, but I'm not like passing out like nose isn't running a bunch, and I know I'm not disease riddled. So I don't know why COVID was made.
Successful would be a first for any country. Chang'e 6 is headed to the far side of the moon to collect samples.
How the fuck if I'm a noob if they can't log into it? They ain't gonna be able to delete it. It'll just be a dormant chat. It'll be on this thing. Will be on here for as long as the website's up because they can't just delete it off.
This marks a major milestone.
I'll just wipe my computer clean and it'll fucking never log into it again. I'll fucking did that originally and then they got 1 million views off somebody that was interested enough to think that I was disease riddled myself with long ass fingernails. My fingernails ain't different colors. They're fucking clear as day. I had to wipe with this hand because if I go to the back, I had gallbladder surgery back in the day, and they fucking tell you they have gallbladder surgery. They have to have gallbladder removed, and they fucking have to. They don't tell you the side effects or the risks involved or short life expectancy if you fucking take a green patch out that fucking makes you hold the bathroom. You have to keep going to the bathroom like a fucking moron. I fucking wouldn't have had it done, and they're fucking threatening me and telling me shit. I didn't have all that shit done to be fucking prosecuted by some moron that just is racist. It's racism. They fucking think I'm disgusting and shit. They have AIDS themselves, and COVID's worse than AIDS. If you fucking your all your shit gets all fucking just melts off and just die. The oxygen gets taken out. Like your whole your lungs get filled up with liquid, and you fucking just croak off goddamn COVID. That COVID shit's still around. Like COVID's never gonna fucking go away. It's like that Resident Evil 4 shit, or They Live, or whatever the fuck. Where the two guys fight each other. I put these glasses on. I see a skeleton talking. What the fuck are you supposed to do with this shit? You're not even safe to go get. If I get a job now, I'm not supposed to go to a fucking hearing and get a day off. If I get a day off, they better not fucking do anything to my ass. I end up getting a job. I don't fucking have you have the job right to you. You need to stay working there for a billion years. You only get like $2,000 pension or whatever the fuck. We're working a billion years. I'm so fat moron to sit there and fucking laugh hysterically thinking everything's funny and cute. It's like that fucking shit off that weird ass shit they able to fuck. I'm not Jabba the Hutt if I'm thinner than you. I don't fucking watching me. They don't fucking think I'm from Iowa and they don't serial killer and shit. They can't go forth and think that nobody's gonna fucking want to kill my ass. They thought I was AIDS riddled myself. I didn't have AIDS. COVID's worse than fucking AIDS. COVID will fucking just wipe the whole entire planet off, and the only thing will be there is a dildo and it fucking rumbling. It shall even be left as one person's dildo. It'll be left, and nobody fucking be left this world. Fucking just COVID just takes everything out like that. Thanos snapped in his fingers, and the whole world population.
CEO of Bumble, the dating app.
I grow a goatee out. I don't want to fucking get raped by anybody, so I grow a goatee out. I don't want to fucking think they fucking think I'm gay or something. I don't think they can't go. I'm not a child molester or anything either. Fuckers are psycho. I have long ass fingernails, but nothing in my fingernails. No DNA on them. All my fingerprints don't match raping anybody or any of that creepy shit. They're fucking psycho.
Lidiane Jones is a woman who means business. And Lidiane joins me now here in studio. Thank you so much for joining.
I keep one. You guys have to keep one eye open too. They're fucking after your shit. They all fucking take all your shit too. Be able to. Why do you want something that'd be a paperweight? It'll be a fucking paper. It'll be a paperweight. It'll be useless to your ass. It didn't belong to you. You ain't gonna fucking log into an email address. It'll fucking log out of it. It'll be a. That's why you fuckers You guys ain't Mongo Media or any of that shit. You guys ain't fucking owner of this shit. You go forth and fuck it.
And we believe it's still.
If they wrote to the person, they meant the person they wrote to. They didn't mean like 50 people walking in past telling you a bunch of shit. They're fucking.
Which means women can choose.
And all fucking 50 people think I'm 50 people somehow, and it didn't get deleted off, and it doesn't get deleted off, and I die. They're gonna be the same shit with that creepy fucking Garcia family. They'll fucking psycho. They'll fucking get paid enough to be protected by some fucking moron laughing hysterically about shit.
Yeah, what it means is that women now can decide if they want to ask a question once they decide to.
That guy will the third eye open, and they fucking take everything, but it'd be a paper fucking weight because they fucking can't take anything as a paperweight. Be a paperweight. They can't log into an email address that doesn't belong to them. I don't have nothing bad on the fucking email address. I've shown all that shit I had on the email address and have anything bad written on it. Not writing to random people. They don't fucking tell you a bunch of creepy shit. Not an email address. They can't go forth and take someone's email and fucking delete it off or fucking change it or whatever the fuck. They can't do any of that shit.
This is actually great because sometimes you just don't feel like writing that first message and you don't necessarily want that. The other thing that's been quite eye-catching is your marketing campaign. So, I mean,
you'll get a jail. I know somebody. I'm not a jailbird. There's somebody that I knew that worked there at the fucking municipal fucking court that fucking wavered all the shit. They're gonna waiver all the shit so I can see her ass. They wavered all the shit that ever fucking happened. They wavered it because they knew that shit was raggedy. They fucking know they're gonna put somebody that went to a hospital originally and beg the hospital to help them out. They know I'm not a serial killer if I didn't murder any of those people that talk shit originally, and all sorts of other shit that happened in between that.
What it's supposed to be. We're looking for love. You're supposed to be having a great time. So this is the first.
Isn't Stone, you stupid fucking bitch.
Dating fun again and getting women to be in control and not be so.
I didn't was in the back of a Crown Vic. I didn't steal anybody shit. My fingerprints don't match. Like, if I put my fingerprint up to it, it didn't match any of the serial killer shit they were fucking lipping their asses off about originally. I don't understand any of that shit. I was either at Sunfresh. I went to Roanoke afterwards. I had a fucking sandwich. All that shit's on Twitter. I had a sandwich. I worked at fucking at the fucking Sunfresh for about like a month or so. Originally in 2010, around the time that guy got killed. I ain't discussing those. That means I skull fuck you. If that's what it means.
It's pretty rare to see one powerful woman hand off to a.
You'll get fucking sued. You'll get prosecuted. That's fucking goddamn Samantha Aguilar fucking wavered all the shit. She's related to me and she could waiver all the shit to sue you. They can't have 50 million people out there hearing threatening me saying I was there. I was this and that. They can't go forth and do any of that shit. So fucking look at it like they're crazy. They have to have footage of this shit. They can't just go forth and say, oh, a blind man went out there and butt fucked a guy or whipped his dick out or any of that shit. They can't go forth and do any of that shit. That bitch took photographs. That Ellen took photographs of a fucking goddamn guy taking groceries out without her consent. Originally. So I can't go forth and say the fucking creepy bitch is able to fucking come out against the screen on an ADT feed. We had ADT feed back then. They don't fucking have this bitch press up against one to open the screen door. All that shit's I ain't hearsay. You have it all on the fucking film. They will be afraid of some blue scissors. I fucking made a sex change operator and fucking sex change your ass.
First is
a pink trimmed room.
First move. Don't be afraid to take the big leaps and trust your instinct. This is the biggest thing. We are on a mission to help.
Not retarded if I fucking log off of it. Fucking just ain't gonna be able to fucking log into this shit. Ain't no fucking internet connection won't work if you fucking do this shit anyway. It'll be a fucking closed fucking account. They'll close the fucking account on the fucking email fucking goddamn provider. And we don't have this here people talking shit. Just play a video game on there that you can't fucking log into anymore because I can't play online, or I can play the single player campaign, but
millions will be watching the Run for the Roses at Churchill Downs. We have a very special preview this morning.
I don't have Down syndrome, but fucking I don't look like overweight people don't have Down syndrome either. It's just fucking retarded off because stupid bitch is psycho. That guy has way more than I do, and it's fucking psycho. He looks like Jabba the fucking Hutt. Don't fucking punk somebody.
You're hosting tomorrow's Kentucky Derby coverage on NBC. It's the 100th.
I'll take a shit in this bucket and fling it at you.
Sesquicentennial.
I'm gonna put this bucket.
Honoring that milestone.
Well, Dylan's with on the show again this year, and we have a
cast of thousands, if you will, to celebrate what really is more than a sporting event. Over the years, you go to sporting events and there's the game, but at the Derby, it's a party and it's an event. And if you want to have a great place to throw a party,
This bucket isn't fake, is it, you stupid fucking bitch?
you'll ever find $200 million spent over 3 years in the area where the horses are created, if you will, before the races. That has been upgraded, changed.
I glad about it, dude. Now I'm fucking able to fucking hear him tell me a bunch of shit.
It's a little cross section of America, and it's a treat. It's lasted longer, really, than any other sporting event since 1875. So, reason to celebrate coming up this weekend.
And Dylan, hey, it's Savannah. One of the big X factors, of course, for any horse race are these track conditions: muddy, fast, wet, fast, thrown around, all those terms when it comes to the weather, which, of course, you are a particular expert on. So how are things looking?
Well, every year I think it offers a challenge. You actually ran into somebody who said, just the way the river lies here, like the storms just pop up. So it is, a little microclimate here. So it does make it a tough forecast. Right now, it's just raining. I mean, today it's just going to rain. We might get a break later on this afternoon. Now, tomorrow,
They won't break his foot and I'll fling a bucket of shit at him. They'll go to the hospital coughing
at
them.
this moment where it's like a beautiful day, the sun is shining and it's great. That's what's going to set up the chance of storms through the afternoon. That'll probably kind of kick in around 4 or 5 o'clock. So then we're watching the radar and kind of tracking each cell to see where it goes. We've done that several years.
Yes, we have.
And sometimes you get that downpour right before the race, and then it's perfectly sunny come race time. So it's something we'll certainly be keeping an eye on. It's about a 40% chance of rain.
So if the sun comes out, it's bad news. So the good news could be the bad news.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Yes. So warm air rises. No, I won't go into the whole. The science
Comedy routine here too. So one of the things.
Hello again. Now, so in this video, I'm going to show you the iPhone 15 Pro Max against the iPhone 15 Pro. Now, I've just received this, and because I was so impressed with the outer packaging. Now, I know other brands ship their products like this, but I thought it was worth showing you. All I've done here is pull the tab along here, so that's what this is. And so what you've got is this outer box, the shipping label goes on here. And then inside you can see that the main product is sort of suspended in this cardboard box. And to get it out, you just pull those two tabs and out pops the main item. And so this is the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Now I shall just take it off camera, and I will put my fingers over some of the details so that I can show you the pull tabs there. But once again, I love these pull tabs that they make unboxing very pleasurable. And once again, the quality of these boxes can be seen. Anyway, I shall now come back. So here is the iPhone 15 Pro Max, and just once again, here is the shipping box that it came in. It's sort of suspended in the middle there. I thought that was quite cool, so I wanted to show you. And I've just flipped the two tabs off here, so I can put it down like this and show you what it looks like in the box for the first time. Now, of course, straight away I noticed the quality of the packaging here, and I don't know if you can see this cardboard bit, and this is where the camera module goes. But the quality of the box really is noticeable. It's something that I really do notice, and this picture of the phone is sort of emboldened. I think I mentioned that in another video. You can sort of feel its texture there. Anyway, this is the Pro Max in white, and of course it's titanium. And if I just take off the cover now, look at that. you know, I suppose this, you know, first impressions is lovely, really. And, you know, in the hand straight away, I'm noticing the smooth feel of the titanium rails. And of course, at first sight, you might think that that is aluminium, but it's titanium, and you can feel the curved edges there. It does feel.
They can't do it.
Now, of course, this is
not going to get a jail sentence though. Somebody's fucking mocking me. If they mock you so much times, if they mock you so much that they want you to take your life, they'll get a jail sentence too.
Certainly.
They'll get imprisonment too. They fucking tell you a bunch of creepy shit. That's why it's fucking weird. You can't film the court. I filmed me outside of the court before that hearing, and they wavered all the shit. They gonna fuck themselves. And once they do that, that's their decision to waiver all the shit. They do everything beforehand, so they can't go forth and make another fucking decision where they fucking have it on another one that's been past 30 days or whatever.
There you go. First impression.
It's gonna be like 40 years from now. They still can't do shit about it. It's gonna be 40-year wait. You only wait for 40 years. Oh, creepy shit. It'll be another 15 years. It'll be another 15 years from now. It'll be another 15 years from now. I can't go forth and do anything because I didn't do anything to anybody. My fingerprints don't do anything to anybody. My fingerprints don't match any of that creepy shit. They go fuck.
Perhaps that's the little thing that ties the cable up. But in theory, all I need is one brick and this cable, and I can literally power everything with me. Things like a laptop, the microphones, the iPhone, etc. It can literally all be done with a single cable, this cable. Anyway, so now I've taken that out. I bet you I can't get that back in there. No, it's actually, I shouldn't put that there. And of course, we've got this little thing that contains the SIM ejector tool, and I think it has stickers in there. And of course, I'm in Europe, so in Europe, the phones that we have here, they still provide the micro SIM tray. And for me, that probably is an advantage over the iPhones sold in North America, because you have to use eSIM now. And of course, this does have the eSIM capability anyway, but you do have that additional option of popping in your SIM card. And for someone like me, that is very, very useful. So I'm really going to appreciate that. And yeah, that is absolutely super. Now, I suppose what I should do right now is I'm going to put that lid back on there, because what I want to do is compare this phone to the exact same phone, but the smaller version. But what I'm going to do first of all is actually put this on the MagSafe case. And I suppose what I should have done is put the box and the case like that, so you can see them. And so I've basically got exactly this, but also the 15 Pro normal version. And so if I put that there like that, you should be able to see the size. There we go. You can probably see all the size differences. Actually, on camera, you're not going to see much size difference, but maybe you can see, there is a bit of size difference there, actually. And if I hold up these boxes, and I probably need to zoom out a little bit. No, zoom out. Let me see if I can do that. Come back in. There we go. So you can see there is a little bit of difference there. I mean, the box is perhaps 10 millimeters taller here, and I would say about 8 millimeters wider there. So there is a visual size difference there in the case. And I suppose that's going to be very similarly reflected in the boxes. Yeah, so you've basically got 10 millimeters height.
They'll be a suit also.
And yeah, once again, about 7 or 8 millimeters on width. So there is a difference there. But I suppose what I need to do is I'm going to put the 15 Pro Max. I'm going to put this now inside the case here. In fact, actually, why don't I do this? I can actually unbox this on camera. So I pull that tab there. I do like these pull tabs on these boxes. It is very, very nice. I know that unboxing and packaging isn't, shouldn't be that important, but someone like me, I really like it. But there you go. Look at that. And I think I've mentioned before these cases. So this is the Clear case by Apple, the Clear MagSafe. The cases, the plastic feels a little more squishy. So I've got a feeling that they've updated the.
Yo, Randall Dale and Aaron fucking Armstrong Juno's wall.
To deal with some of the.
Originally told me that I was a serial killer. My fingerprints wouldn't match any of that shit.
This MagSafe.
Should Randall Dale on her fucking wall.
It feels better, and it's a little more squishy. And I've got a feeling that is to do with.
They're able to tell you all sorts of creepy shit. They ain't gonna fucking do anything because they're able to tell you all this creepy shit. I'm not gonna get a jail sentence. They say psychopathic shit to your ass. You have to film. They start shit with you. What the fuck you're supposed to do is take the shit, then fucking just want to fucking beat their ass.
So there you go. The 15 Pro Max on the MagSafe case. Now, it doesn't have look good, but the white looks fantastic. Now, I suppose what I should do is tidy up this a little. Let me put that back in there. I do collect these boxes, because they are. It's sort of a time capsule. So over the years, you can see how these things change, and also I suppose I can go like that, and so you can see the box comparison there like that. Anyway, I just thought I would show you once again. It looks pretty cool, doesn't it? I have these things on a shelf so that you can see them. But yeah, I've collected a few of these boxes over the years. I wish I'd kept the phones, but you can't always. But yeah, so this is the 15 Pro Max, so I shall put that there. And this is the 15 Pro normal size. So you've got so these are the things for real. So they are very, very similar. Once again, I love the white of the back of the phone with the.
This means we keep it low key. No cap, we're here to help. It's cool. We're cool.
I used to smoke. I thought it helped relieve my stress. But then I had open heart surgery. My tip is.
So for the past couple of years, ever since Apple released the iPhone and the iPod and the MacBook and the iPad, there was this talk about this great big Apple ecosystem, and this has a lot of people they have mixed feelings about it, and it's understandable. So I wanted to offer you my position on the whole Apple ecosystem. So first of all, let me just talk about the people who don't like the Apple ecosystem. I'm basically agreeing with people who say that the Apple ecosystem is terrible. Okay, it's terrible in the sense that it locks you into a certain brand. And there's a part of me that sort of wonders if there shouldn't be laws against us, the way Apple does things, the way they sort of force you to do things. Like, it's always this idea that, it's your choice. You can use our Apple products and you can use them together, or you can choose not to. And, I think that from a legal standpoint, it's sort of given the technicality of, yes, technically you could use other products, but anybody who uses Apple products, they know, as well as I do, that Apple products work the best with each other and not other brands. That's the truth of it. But it's not impossible. So, for example, I could hook up my AirPods to my iPhone and it just works flawlessly and brilliantly. Now, I could also connect something like the Sony 1000 XM5s and they work, there are no distortions, there are no issues, there are no problems, but the simplicity of connecting Apple products to Apple products, that's the beauty of the Apple ecosystem. Now, on the reverse side of this discussion, we have basically Apple fanboys, which I'm also considering myself to be an Apple fanboy, but I'm actually hoping that at some point I'm going to be able to jump ship. But the reason I don't is because, say what you want about the Apple ecosystem and all of their products, they're expensive and they lock you into the system, but when it works, man, I mean, dude, it just works. It just works so brilliantly. And whenever you get an Apple product and connect it to another Apple product, it just works so flawlessly. And like, there are no distortions, there are no difficulties. It just works. It's sort of like the Apple slogan, it just works. And this is where it has me conflicted because on the one hand, I like it and I like using Apple products together. I love it that my AirPods connect so well with my iPhone and my MacBook with my Mac Mini. I love AirDrop. AirDrop is one thing that I couldn't live without. It sort of feels like I couldn't live without it. And that's actually something very interesting. So I'm going to make a separate video about the whole USB-C discussion. But as you know, the iPhone 14 Pro, let's
I got
discuss
migraine.
that word for a second. It doesn't have USB-C. It has Lightning port. Now, I would have been okay with Lightning port as long as it would have been fast enough. But at this point, even when you're trying to transfer 50 megapixel raw photos from your iPhone to your Mac computer, AirDrop is just the best way to do it. And I think that's on purpose. I really believe this is completely on purpose because as people start to get used to the idea of connecting a cable to transfer video files and raw images and stuff like that, it's just not as easy as distortion free. But with Apple AirDrop, it just just move stuff to your Mac computer and it just works so brilliantly. And this is something that, again, I think that this is something that's intentional by Apple. Of course, there's no way of proving it, but that's what I think.
That's why I'm so thin. I had gallbladder surgery.
As far as I'm concerned.
Now,
I would like to leave the Apple ecosystem. I've said so for a couple of years.
Dover again. I go more at night
because the Apple system still works so fantastically well. Now, this is difficult because Apple products are extremely.
Just don't pay any attention to it and play a video game. You fucking broke me all too by telling me shit.
Upgrading storage on a MacBook, you can't do it. Like, you have to get it from the start, and it will cost you a lot of money. Or if you want to upgrade the processor or something like that, you can't do it. There's nothing that you can upgrade on a MacBook. You can't, put in more storage on an iPhone. And sure, some smartphone devices on the Android side, they don't have this option either. But from my standpoint, it just feels like
and drop by and the fucking page.
Oh, I love it and I hate it at the same time.
Just so two guys get DP'd by one lady and I'll fall in love with that shit. At the same time, DP'd at a gym now. I all fucking hate those fuck commercials. They're almost creepy as shit.
Need help keeping up with the latest Microsoft incentives and partner program updates? At SureWeb, we're here to help our partners do just that. We've been mastering the Microsoft ecosystem since 2000.
Oh, they fucking prosecute Aaron Jenna Armstrong for saying I was some serial killer. Without ability to fucking go out. They'll fucking tell you the most craziest fucking shit's about. There's no fucking way.
Ready to work with
that was creepy. They should write Odell on her fucking wall. Oh, fucking creepy shit they able to fucking tell y'all. Such a creepy shit. Should write Odell on her fucking wall. Odell made some of that bitch.
You're just upgrading something because it doesn't have enough storage or you can't replace the battery, stuff like that. The battery discussion, I'm going to say that for a different video because that's a whole different topic. But when it comes to the Apple ecosystem, I still use it. I still think it works tremendously well. The thing that I
who's watching me? Say something, write something, write hello or something. You just will sit there and watch my ass. I put the basket over it
because it's that.
With the helmet.
Now, another part of this discussion is about the fact that if I was to switch to Android, there is a lot of headaches that I have to deal with. For example, transferring files from an Android device to a computer, a PC, it's not as simple as one might think. Yes, you could technically connect a cable from an Android device to your PC, but then you have to go into the settings menu and you have to unlock the possibility for to be able to transfer.
Obviously, well, they're gonna fucking prosecute you too for saying a bunch of creepy.
Creator, I take lots of photos and videos, and unfortunately, sometimes when I play around with these Android devices, the files get.
You're not somebody's land making fun of them. You guys have the option to get prosecuted too. I can press charges on this shit. They won't fucking tell you a bunch of crazy shit about it. That's crazy as shit. They can't go fucking say you're a billion things and go get arrested by somebody that didn't amount to anything over somebody that was something and go forth and sue them. They can't do any of that shit.
Just go for Android and PC and be done with it. There are so many other aspects. There's the whole video editing aspect as well. If you're like me, if you're a content creator, you make YouTube videos. Yes, there is something called DaVinci Resolve, which is a great software, but Final Cut Pro 10 is the best video editing software as far as I'm concerned, and I just basically can't switch from Final Cut Pro to anything else. I tried, I really have, but it's very difficult. And when it comes to PC world, the thing that I would hate the most is basically Windows. I hate Windows. I love the fact that you can upgrade your computer and stuff like that, although sometimes when you build your computer, some things just, you have to play around with firmware updates and, drivers and stuff like that. Things that you don't have to even think about when you're using a MacBook, basically. It just works every single time. And so that would be very difficult for me to make the switch to PC for that Windows reason, Now, some people would perhaps suggest that I build a Hackintosh, and I have tried so, and this is not the ideal situation. It is so tricky to make a Hackintosh work that I would not recommend it to anybody. I don't care how skilled you are. It's annoyingly difficult. Nothing really works. You have problem with Wi-Fi, you have problem with AirDrop. It's just not worth your time. So I would not waste any time on doing something like that. So finally for me, the smartphone side of things, this is what I think I would enjoy it the most, because I love Android smartphones. I love them because they're always very innovative. They have these new features. This is the Xiaomi 10T Pro. It has 108 megapixels. And when I do comparisons, yes, the images are actually sharper. Or something like the OnePlus 9 Pro. But it records in 8K, and it has this monochrome camera, which I know some people think that the monochrome camera is just a gimmick, and maybe it is. Maybe it is, just like the 8K recording, but it's fun, and I love it when companies experiment with these sort of things. Like, another completely pointless, maybe not completely pointless feature of the OnePlus 9 Pro is that it has reverse charging. So basically, you can put a power bank and charge up the power bank with the smartphone. That's correct. Maybe pointless, but you can actually do it. And I like it when companies experiment with things like that. Anyway, these are just some of my thoughts. Love to hear what you think about the whole Apple ecosystem. Is my plan to switch from the Apple ecosystem? Unfortunately, not anytime soon, but it is my hope for the future that someday, somewhere down the line, I will be feeling comfortable in doing so. You know what I mean? I wish that Google would make a powerful Chrome, but that would be something. Get that on Pixel, and introduce some kind of an AirDrop feature. That would be so spectacular. Anyway, that's all I have for today. Hope you enjoyed this little video, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care.
IT is about time. Uptime, which is crucial for your business operations because outages can be extremely costly. And your time, so you can remotely monitor and troubleshoot performance as quickly and as easily as possible. Then swiftly get back to the other priority projects on your hot list. How to make it happen? Meet the DigiConnect IT family console access service that access multiple racks and multiple paths to make certain your connections are always up, always on, even if your primary network is down. With DigiConnect IT console management, you get connectivity you need when and where you need it, so your mission-critical data keeps flowing from financial transactions to business systems and manufacturing operations. Choose 1, 4, 16, or 48 serial ports with free capacity in order to right-size for each site. You can even add cellular as you need. as simply as plugging in a DigiCellular Core monitor. DigiConnect IT provides remote management capabilities for equipment in your server room, branch offices, or other remote locations. If something adverse happens, DigiConnect IT sends an alert to the correct individual or group so that they can take immediate action. It logs the error and allows quick connectivity to the affected equipment wherever it's located, across the corporate network or out of band through VPN, cellular LTE, or even dial-up. With the DigiConnect IT Content Access Server fails, you can react quickly to restore connectivity and system functionality, while providing fully traceable audit flow and regulatory compliance data. This means your company maintains connectivity and business continuity while you get back to your other priority projects. IT is about time, uptime, and your time. That's why now is the time to make sure you have console connectivity whenever and wherever you need it with the DigiConnect IT family. Digi, connect with confidence.
Jolly Rancher gummies. Made with hidden fruit flavor.
Digital Foundry is sponsored by the powerful, upgradable MSI MPG Infinite X2 desktop PC featuring Intel Core processors and NVIDIA RTX 40 series graphics.
It's that time again, everyone. Digital Foundry's Graphics of the Year Award. We're going to talk about our favorite picks for the best visuals in 2023. And normally it's just me and Alex. And Alex, you're here today.
Hi there, John. Yes, I'm here. I've got Windows 95s, 3D11s running in the background. I've got my Christmas hat, my yearly Christmas hat, which definitely doesn't just lie around in the dust until this very moment when I pick it up again. It's definitely clean.
Yeah, I'm sure it's extremely clean. But somebody who is extremely clean that we also have joining us for the first time ever on the Graphics of the Year Award, the man who has added so much to Digital Foundry this year. We love to have you on, Oliver. Welcome to Graphics of the Year.
Thanks so much, John. It's always a pleasure to be on even at this late hour. And yeah, I have quite a few of these games this year, so it should be fun.
Yes, exactly. So that's what we're doing. This is bigger than the Game Awards. This is the most important awards. Yeah, maybe not, but we're going to try. We're going to try anyway. And here's how it's going to go. We've broken this up into 3 distinct segments. The first one being honorable mentions. These are games that we feel look really good and deserve a mention, but perhaps don't make the top of the list for reasons we'll discuss when going over the games. And then we get to our top 10, where we will present the first 7 of this 10 in an unordered fashion. But this year, when we get to the top 3, we're going to fight to see which order they go in. 1, 2, 3. It's going to be discussed right here between the 3 of us. We have not predetermined which one's going to take the actual top spot yet, so I can't wait to get into that. So, guys, are you ready to start with honorable mentions? Absolutely. All right, so number 1 on this list, even though I just said it's unordered, it's not actually ordered. It's Dead Space. It's Dead Space, the remake of Dead Space that came out earlier this year, powered by Frostbite. This is a beautiful retelling of the original Dead Space game with gorgeous visuals focused on dynamic lighting and shadows and just an awesome atmosphere. It has a few issues that we've discussed about specifically on the PC, but I think it's a pretty solid looking game. I mean, what do you think, Alex?
Yeah, this is one where I loaded it up on the PC and actually even on the consoles because back when we were loading up, we were talking about the VRS stuff and I had to load it up on the consoles too to see what was going on. With John, and John was in this video. And I was just surprised kind of everywhere I played it that it looked really, really good. I'm a big fan of the fact that it relies pretty much wholly on dynamic lighting, and that has some issues in its own right at times, but it's ambitious to see games push dynamic lighting so much as part of the core design. And the game really requires it. I mean, it's Doom 3-esque in that regard, where you go in a room, the lights are off, and then they turn on, or vice versa. So yeah, I really like that, and I think it held up to the same artistic standard as the original. which was already really good looking back when it came out in 2008.
Yeah. I think it's really good when we go between the two games because it feels like they've done such a good job of maintaining that original game spirit while totally redoing the artwork. Like, you'd be surprised when you're comparing between them how much they've changed. And I agree, like, there's so much focus on real-time lighting, but my only quibble with the game, at least in its current state on consoles really, is the fact that there's like very little representation of GI or bounce or anything like that. Yep. That's the only quibble there. Maybe they could have improved that. Obviously, you're targeting a pretty high spec of hardware relative to what they used to be targeting. So it would have been nice to see some progress on that front. But I think it looks overall really, really good. I love the artwork. I love what they've done with it. And it's one of my best games of the year. So I really enjoyed the game as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is an interesting thing where it came out with RTAO, which almost feels like the opposite of what you would want in Dead Space.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because it's got like shiny sci-fi surfaces, and it's got lots of intense little short lights in dark areas where you imagine the bounce lighting with a GI would be something you put in. But I guess RTAO was like the short, easy, not easy. It was in the entry already, so it made sense to put it in the game without investing too much research time and development effort in some other GI or collections.
Agreed. But all right, next game. This one's a little different, and it's Horizon Forbidden West's Burning Shores DLC. Technically speaking, if this had been the year of this game, and this is what the game looked like, obviously, as it was last time, it would be right at the top of the list, right? But this is just DLC. It doesn't overhaul the entire render. If it had, say, added path tracing or something, maybe it would have been much different. But I do feel we needed to mention this at least because I do think Burning Shores is a phenomenal piece of DLC, and it takes the already great visuals that we saw in Forbidden West and pushes it even further. And Oliver, I think you did the video for this one. I did, yeah. I would say the updated cloud rendering is like the standout visual feature here. Basically, the game has a new voxel-based 3D cloud system relative to the Forbidden West cloud system, which I think was called their Nubis cloud system. This one is really great because you can fly up next to clouds and they maintain coherency and they have defined structures in them. You can fly through them, you can fly through pockets in them, and it still like holds up really, really well at close range. The lighting is amazing, like when light penetrates the cloud edges, it just looks fantastic. So I think that's like the really key technical advancement. But yeah, outside of that, it's just the same great game that you would have seen last year, but with a new map, different setting, more emphasis on flying, and the clouds, of course. Precisely. Alex, do you have anything to say on this one? Have you checked it out?
I haven't checked it out personally, but I watched all of this video, and I think that also was for me the standout part. A lot of things that games get away with that have volumetric clouds is there's just the conceit that they're always on the horizon, and you can never actually move along with them, and that makes them cheaper to render. But if you have to fly in a game, you can't do that. It's just so awkward. So then moving to this much more, I would call it like Red Dead Redemption 2 style / Microsoft Flight Simulator style of renders for the clouds. It benefited the game hugely. It also makes me wonder what they're going to be doing next, if it's more Horizon or something else. I would love to see them take a first-person game again, where they would have to really push the detail even further.
I think we already know the answer. Like, we don't actually know, but we know.
We probably know.
It's going to be more Horizon, almost certainly. But hey, you know what? Those are beautiful games. Guerrilla Games pushes the limits on consoles for sure. Definitely one of the best in the biz in terms of visual design. So yeah, there it is. Next one, though, is of a very different scale, I would say, and that is Jusant, which is a game that was released towards the end of summer, I believe, and it was one of the first in the round of earlier UE5 titles that took advantage of its features. And I think this is a big standout game for showcasing Lumen in action, because it's a game that uses, so essentially you're climbing like a large obelisk, if you will, over the course of the game, and it charts your exploration to the top. It has an awesome sense of scale and a really cool visual design. It's kind of like, it has aspects of realism, but it's definitely stylized, shall we say. But thanks to Lumen, you get all the beautiful bounce lighting all over the place, and those different rock formations and the materials, as simple as they may be, like it really allows it to shine in a way, and you see that beautiful bounce lighting and the color transfer all over the place. The combination of the deep orange from the sun with the deep blues and some of those like cavernous like spots of the tower, like it's genuinely beautiful, I think. I mean, what do you think, Alex? You've played this one, right?
Yeah, and I really wanted to highlight it originally because I thought, in comparison, most is the game where you can see global illumination effects really well. And one thing that I really liked too in the game, and Oliver definitely saw this too when he talked about it for the console version, is that LumenGI has its limitations, like especially in its software form, and they worked heavily to make sure that they don't show up too often, or they modified it. Like in a number of scenes, they'll place an artist light to fake the GI getting like better like shadow coverage in an area. Like at the entrance of the mouth of a cavern, they'll also, along with GI coming in, they'll throw like a light in there that is like projecting real-time shadows, those VSM shadows into the environment, and it looks really good as well. It was a team that knew what their limits were, and they worked the art around it. And I think that is one of the big strengths of doing tech art in the game, is knowing the limitations of what you're doing and not showing the hand all the time. You know the limitations of it. And I think they did a really good job of that.
I also think it's just one of my favorite UE5 games so far, just in terms of showing off LumenGI, because it's got like this gray box and this like textureless clay kind of style to it. So you really see all that fine minor detail because there's so little texture detail to kind of cover it. So it's just a really nice showcase for what UE5 could do, I think. Absolutely. So that's why it gets a mention here, I think. It's not necessarily pushing the limits of Unreal Engine 5 just yet, but it's one of the showcase titles. There's another one on this list. Yeah, there is another one on this list that we'll get to later. But there we go, our first UE5 title. I think ever. Wait, was Fortnite on there last year?
It was part of the list last year, but
all right.
Towards the top, yeah.
Either way, we have two more honorable mentions, and one of them, the next one here, is one I included in the list, and it's Armored Core 6. And you're probably thinking, what the heck, John? Why is there a From Software game on a list like this? And it's because I think graphics go beyond just pure tech, and I think Armored Core 6 shows that what From Software does, even if they're not pushing the boundaries of technology, they know how to utilize their tech in combination with their art to create truly stunning looking games. And Armored Core 6, I think, has one of the best depictions of scale I've ever seen in a game, where just the way they lay out the terrain in front of you with all these like mechanical structures stretching way off into the horizon above the player, it's beautiful and nightmarish all at once. And just the combination of the striking lighting, the mech designs themselves, all this kind of stuff. It just looks so beautiful in motion. You add in things like the animation work, the particle effects, like all that stuff, it just comes together in this symphony of destruction. And then there's, early on there's this one mission where you're like tackling like a giant walker, and this thing is huge. It is the level itself on top of the terrain. It's fully animated as well. You take down one of its legs and actually climb up and fly around on top of this thing as it's moving through the desert. And they've tried this stuff in some of the PS3 era of Armored Core games, but like I feel like 6 finally truly pulls it off in a way that doesn't feel kind of compromised by the technology, And yeah, that's what they do. I mean, did either of you guys actually play this?
No, I didn't have time. But the one thing I also want to finally commend them on is that they've, unlike with Elden Ring and every Dark Souls release on PC before this, is they've actually is competent. Like Dark Souls 2 was competent enough, but this one, like, actually unlocking the thing up to 120 that was just missing before, using new APIs without quote unquote, sorry Oliver for the bleeping bed. Like Elden Ring does not properly use DD12 when it launched, and this one did, and didn't see that issues. In fact, this is probably the first time in a while where I'd say, like, actually, the PC version is probably the best way to play this game.
Oh, absolutely.
By a good mile.
It just runs like butter. You load it up, it just goes. And even better, this thing has amazing mouse and keyboard controls. I actually been playing this game with mouse and keyboard is the best way to experience it. So, I mean, it's good on any platform you play it on, I would argue. Well, maybe not last gen, but yeah, PC version is the way to go, and that's why it's on the list. But our next one, though, the final honorable mention, this is a little bit different because it's even less pushing technical boundaries, Well, actually, in a way, it maybe is. It's pushing the boundaries of the Switch because it's Metroid Prime Remastered, which is one of my favorite games, I think. It would be in my top 20 list of all time, probably. I'm a huge fan of Metroid Prime. I love what they've done with it. And they remastered it for Switch this year, and my goodness, I think they did a phenomenal job. Not only does it sort of, bring the rendering up to speed with where you would expect like a somewhat more modern game, but it does it all at 60 frames per second with reasonable image quality on the Switch. Winds up being, I think, one of the best looking Switch games like ever made, I would say. Especially when you take into account how well it runs. And I think, Oliver, you actually got to do the video on this one, if I recall, right?
I did, yeah. If anything, I want to highlight the lighting in particular, because there's some really effective big lighting in this title. And I kind of speculate here that they're really putting that 4 gigabytes of RAM or 3 gigabytes usable on the Switch to good use, because they have that segmented world design. And I feel like they're really able to crank up the fidelity of the baked lighting. Like the baked lighting in here, some of it looks like way better than in a lot of other cabinets that we see on current gen consoles. So I'm super impressed by it. They basically re-arted the entire game, a lot like Dead Space, which we discussed earlier. New models, textures, everything redone, PBR materials. They've done a great job of maintaining the look of the game, but with totally new assets everywhere. And all the novel effects from the original game pretty much have survived. So you get the flash of Samus's reflected face in the visor. You get the raindrops on the player weapon, all that good stuff. And on top of all that, it runs with decent image quality, I would say, for a Switch title. And it's basically a total walk 60 FPS. So amazingly, it's sort of funny because when you look at some of these Switch titles that Nintendo puts out, you almost think, do we really need a Switch 2? Of course we do. But it's so good, it's so good what they do on the platform. It almost feels like a preview of what they've been trying to do with Metroid Prime 4, which I do
we'll see that, right?
Will still ship on the original Switch.
Oh my gosh,
I'm fairly certain that's going to happen, but we'll see. But if it looks like this or better, which is possible, well, I think I'd be pretty happy with that. But all right, gentlemen, those are our honorable mentions. So and what makes them honorable mentions is that they wouldn't normally get into the actual top 10 list. That's basically it. It's just like extending the list a little bit. For games that we personally wanted to add that maybe not all of us have played or experienced. But now it's time to get to the, I guess, 4 through 10 on the top list. But this is actually out of order. We're going to debate, again, the top 3 to actually put those in a proper order when we get there. So let's go down the list. And there's a couple things in here that are a little bit I think all of these should be here. But this first one I want to mention, we debated on whether or not it should be included. But in the end, just due to the visual quality, I think it makes it. But there are caveats. And that is Jedi Survivor. We've had a contentious relationship with this game over the past year. It is not good on the PC. They launched it with major issues. It was very broken early on in many ways. And I almost felt like it shouldn't be on here because of that. But then when you actually look at what they're doing, visually speaking, I think it just makes the cut. Alex, why don't you explain why?
Well, I mean, Oliver can also do it too, very briefly. But one thing I want to say is, in spite of all of my issues with the game, I will say that I really like the character rendering in it completely. I think it is visually, since Battlefront 2, being Battlefront 1, which maybe sometimes always looks a little better than Battlefront 2, is probably the best realization of Star Wars aesthetic in video games. I think they did a really, really good job.
Wait. Better than Rebel Assault?
Well, yes, better than Rebel Assault.
All right, there you have it.
I said it live. And I think they were pushing the technology in good ways. The ray tracing is really nice to see and was not expected at all pre-launch. I wouldn't have expected ray tracing at all. But I think it was just kind of in a package where it was held together by string in a lot of ways, and that brought it down. But Oliver, since you did that on consoles where you came away with it more impressed than I was because I was fending off all the issues on PC. Like, take it away, yeah.
I think the most impressive thing is just those cutscenes, which like at times they look incredible. Like they're super consistent, high quality, correct looking writing and materials in those scenes, like almost CG level character models, incredible animation, just beautifully directed sequences. And a lot of like the smaller scale environments, the game looks fantastic as well, like just so much detail and complexity, like in the opening mission when you're being paraded through, I think it's called Coruscant. Just looks amazing, right? Outstanding.
That's what.
Okay.
There's a big joke about this, about how you pronounce it, but it's either Coruscant or Coruscant.
Okay.
Which era of George Lucas is that?
Yeah. So I would say the game itself like looks terrific.
Whoa! Holy one! Hey, hot guy, marry me. Okay. Sometimes warehouse.
Working at Whataburger has helped me get stuff ready for my apartment that I'll be moving to, so I can afford what I need as well as get what I want.
But on PC, obviously, it's a huge letdown. On consoles, there were some issues. The biggest issue that I would say at launch was there were a lot of game-breaking bugs, a lot of crashes, visual issues. That was a big problem. But in addition to that, the performance mode just did not run at 60 FPS, and the image quality was quite poor in the performance mode. Eventually, like in September, I believe, they solved both these issues to some degree by just needing no tracing performance mode, improving performance and increasing the internal resolution of the game. So that definitely improved things. The game on consoles, I think, now is pretty good. The performance mode is decent. The quality mode gets a consistent 30 FPS and looks pretty good in terms of image quality, I would say, and with those nice RTG and RT reflections on top of that. So I think it's in a pretty good state on consoles and it looks really good, but it's definitely had kind of a rough journey. And on PC, it's still acceptable. So it's kind of a mixed commendation, I think.
Yeah, it's a hard one. It's like last year when we talked about the Callisto Protocol, where at the time it was like a super fresh game, and we knew it had the visual quality. That was most painfully obvious, but the roughness of the launch really took a lot of the luster out of it. And that one got better over time. I would say much more rapidly, actually, than Jedi Survivor did. Yeah. Especially on the PC side, where it got like a lot better within like a month. So yeah, it's like one of those things where for a game to be good looking, it also has to be fluid, and that's like we can't look at a game that's stuttering and be like, this looks good. That's really hard for us. I think us at Digital.
Yeah, I agree.
You know.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that's fair. I agree. I do think it's a great looking game for sure. And I have not fully played through the game yet because I kept putting it off in hopes that the PC version would be fixed. But I've kind of lost that hope, and I'll just have to accept a stable 30 FPS experience on the consoles, which I can deal with that. That's fine. I'll give it a shot. But what I played through, the first 4 hours or so, I do agree that it's absolutely gorgeous, despite its technical problems. So, all right, the next one then. And this one, I kind of voted to put on the list because I think it looks really, really slick. It has a few limitations, but overall, beautiful game, fantastic art direction. It's Final Fantasy 16, which I covered back around launch. And I think this game is very, very polished and just showcases what like a strong presentation can do for a game like this. First of all, Oliver, you mentioned the cutscenes in Jedi Survivor, but I think the ones in 16 are perhaps even more just they're bombastic, yes, but it takes me back to that feeling of watching what would have previously been like a pre-rendered episode in an older game, and then they essentially translate that to a true real-time graphics engine with large-scale destruction in some of the scenes and just tremendous animation work, and it's really, 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 really beautiful to behold. But I think the game world itself does look largely great. They've done a lot with their baked global illumination, so like the scenes are, unlike a lot of Final Fantasy games, they went for a much more subtle art style. So like things like the way scenes are lit, it's far more, I would say, realistic than like bombastic, but very, very nice, very impressive, and like a lot of like subtle ground sliding where you need it. The shadows look great. that we were confused for so long about the shadows because it's like they look kind of like ray traced shadows, and they behave like it too, but it's not. And they just came up with a really clever solution. There's a whole presentation on there that they did. I need to refresh myself on all those details, but I think that holds up well. And then you get into things like the VFX, which are incredible. The particle effects, the explosions, the motion blur, the scale of some of those scenes. There's that one scene later on where you're fighting Kuka in this, I don't know, form, I guess you could say, right? And like running across the desert at like huge speed and like grappling with this Titan. It felt like old style God of War that we haven't had since like God of War 3 or something, where it's just something that's way bigger than you and absolutely dominates the scene. And just the way that plays out, it just looks amazing. Oliver, I think you have experience with this title as well.
Yeah, I love it. I beat it for years, it's extraordinary. Yeah, I mean, I love the character rendering in it. You get kind of like this blend between like Final Fantasy style, kind of anime-inspired visuals, and kind of a stylized realism. Like you said, it's kind of somewhere in between. I think the place they picked really suits the game and its themes and its visuals and all that. The materials look fantastic. Like when you look at like Benedicta's leather outfits and things like that, they just look really, really, really good. The shadow rendering again, it's super impressive there. Probably I'd have to say the visual highlight of the game would be those battle sequences.
I need help on dental exam costs. I think like 1,500, and I have like 10,000 coverage. It covers up to 10,000. I have my bottom teeth and my top teeth break out. And I don't know why they did that. When I got my COVID, or originally my COVID vaccine, I started feeling bad, and I had reaction probably to it. And I never went to the doctors other than having a swollen mouth, having an exam done, and I never went back. I'm not begging for money. I just need resources on like where to go. Is the most one. You don't like, enjoy the areas you up in the exam room or try to like do something with the money and then not help you out and then pocket it or whatever.
And I think Alex will get a chance to try it out next year.
I'm not dead, you fucking moron.
It is coming to the PC.
Yeah,
I'm not going away.
I'm really curious what they're going to change or add to it, because I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say because we had the Final Fantasy VII remake on.
This asshole bought her house is irrational, thinking our information isn't real anymore because he lives there. And when we should have sold a house to a real estate agent that was bastard to be able to fucking do this shit to people.
It's their own engine. I think it's going to be very different. I think it's going to be just as polished, if not more so. One thing that you're going to be able to do is play it at 60 FPS without image quality concerns, which is this was like one of the first titles this year to really have like a controversial, well, not one of the first, but it definitely was controversial with the fact that 60 FPS was not always maintained, and then the image quality you had to deal with in 60 FPS on the PlayStation 5 wasn't super hot. So that's one thing. Yeah, and I look forward to covering it, definitely.
I'm going to jail.
And that's at it a little bit further, but everything else is already looking great.
Yep, I completely agree. And yeah, the performance mode was kind of like the one real minus feature on here is that, the image quality suffered a lot and it was not consistent. And as I noticed, they did at least push for more stable frame rates in combat, but that meant dropping to like 720p to get
that was kind of weird too. Like why target variable performance at the expense of just don't know how I feel.
It was so. In 30 FPS mode, though, I thought it was still very good, and the motion blur especially was extremely well done.
I put all my business online, and they fucking mock you, go fucking tell you one thing, and then they'll do another. That's why I don't want to have my teeth done, because I don't want to go into an appointment that I haven't made yet, and I still don't know which one to go to. I had 4 referrals to go for one of those dental places, and I don't want to go to any of that shit. They're just telling me a bunch of crazy shit.
And they have done prior games based on films.
And once you sign a paper on the dotted line, those doctors can intently kill you if you think you're fucking just sabotage whatever fucking teeth you have left and go forth and go to the hospital, put some in. And they put you under anesthetics for a little bit, then you start feeling it, and afterwards, they can't keep taking all that medicines and all that stuff. Gets weirded out. I get weirded out by that stuff. So I'm thin now because I took medicines.
message. Stick to the
and they
message.
pumped my stomach
That's
out.
tough.
But
I think they
it
did
wasn't
as good a
suicide. It
job
just
as
was
you
the
can
medicines I
ask.
had
Probably
at the
the
point in
best
time were
experience
given to me
ever done
by the doctors, and I had to
RoboCop,
take a bunch of
specifically
meds
RoboCop. Yeah, I
for
don't think any
all
game
sorts
has
of
actually
reasons.
pulled off RoboCop at this level before, and that's great. But it's also a game that it utilizes Unreal Engine 5.
I don't know who's watching me. I don't know
I
if I can tell you one
personally
thing
feel that
on
this
going
is
to
the
prison.
best
If they
looking
fucking tell you
Unreal
that you
Engine
weren't
5
going to get
game.
jailed up originally, they can't
Despite
go forth and write anything
it
else
has some
to you or
polish
tell you
issues, like the limited
all sorts of
budget,
shit. If you go to a hospital and you
cutscenes,
walk in and you walk out of it,
that's
then there's
fairly
nothing
mediocre, I
wrong.
would say.
They ain't, it's on them to be able to tell you all these people telling you shit. They act like they're fucking the head of the board or whatever the fuck type of shit. They're nothing. They're nothing themselves to tell you a bunch of creepy
film and
shit.
expanded upon them in an interesting way to create real levels to explore. The way it uses Lumen to light
Mostly
reflections.
they've just stream on
produces
and
this very filmic light.
just leave the stream on then.
It's both highly realistic, but still also very true to the source material, I would say. Visually.
Yeah.
And then a lot of the scenarios they put you in are just cool to behold visually. Like when you fight Ed 209, for instance, the way it's like there's so much destruction in the environment, right? And you're kind of chipping away at him, shooting him down. There's the scene where the guys on motorcycles come out early in the game, right? And it's extremely fun to, you're shooting guys off the motorcycles, you run up to him, you grab one off his bike and throw him at another pack of guys riding their bikes, and everybody goes flying and explosions everywhere. It just looks so cool. Oliver, what do you think?
Yeah, like you said, I think this game takes a spot on the list in large part because it uses the UE5 tool set so effectively. Like when you combine Lumen with VSMs, in a game like this, you get some extremely compelling results. And I actually think that of the non-path-based titles on this list, this title has some of the most consistent lighting. Like in any scenario that you see in the game, there's just a really consistent and high-quality presentations with the lighting. And I think it benefits a lot because a lot of the other UE5 titles that we've seen so far have been smaller scale games than this one. And they maybe are more limited by budget, whereas this is kind of like a double A style effort that has a bigger team,
right?
And the results they're able to achieve, even with kind of like a middle of the road kind of budget, which you do see, like John said, in the cutscenes, which are a little robotic with facial animations. A little out of date, let's say.
It's fine. Like, not every game needs perfect cutscenes.
Yeah.
I don't care.
But
I agree.
Yeah, I think all that really makes you hungry for more games that use this technology and that use it in a really sophisticated way like RoboCop does, because I think we're going to see really tremendous results out of upcoming titles that do use it. And I think, like, specific to this game, also does a really good job of replicating locations from movies. I watched RoboCop World 1 right before I started work on
I did the same.
The game, yeah. And it's remarkable how, like, some locations, like the police station, they just mirror almost perfectly. And I love
how they recreate like that shot from the film of Murphy driving back to police HQ.
Yeah,
I'll take anything a fucking
showing
while.
the headquarters there, like they perfectly do that. The title card.
There's so many callbacks,
Oh man.
Yeah, I think they did a fantastic job on it, and I was just super impressed. Like, I was not expecting that at all. I was just so impressed by that game.
Yes, I agree. Alex?
I would say I like this because it shows how UE5 can be a force multiplier if used correctly, where there's no way
I
this
just kept the screen door locked until you could hear
to
it.
move their own technology base to probably even produce anything like this. But since the tools are there and the high fidelity can be achieved by UE5,
No,
and
just
they
I
just
kept
have
the screen door locked. I haven't gone
however
out there.
however they're managing the scenes.
Alright.
They can produce something that looks a lot of ways better than like AAA games.
Yeah,
especially in terms of lighting quality. Yeah, that stuff's sick. I loved a lot of the shots Oliver got for the video of like that one outdoor area and like the I don't know what they call them, like sand dune kind of garbage dump. I don't know what that was. It looked awesome. Those rocks
and all those little like nanite blocks and the incredibly crisp shadow detail and the incredible amount of geometry. It just like all comes together to produce a result that you just will not see in another game this year, right? Just an incredible result.
It's awesome.
Absolutely phenomenal. So yeah, good job to Teon. They did amazing work on this game. It's really good stuff. And then our next title then on the list is
another game using its own original engine, and it's an engine we've seen multiple times, and I think this might be the best looking game produced with it yet. It's Resident Evil 4 from Capcom, the remake. Obviously, I think we were all kind of nervous about them remaking Resident Evil 4, but I think they've created something that sits nicely alongside that original, expands upon it in ways that you might like. I think they're both still, they hold up on their own, but man, the visual quality in Resident Evil 4, they've went overboard with just that granularity of each environment. The scenes are presented with just like, there's barely a straight edge to be found. Well, at least in the village areas, right? All these old crumbling structures with the wood beams and the stones, and like just everything around it. It feels truly lived in, and it compels you to explore and just dive deeper into this world, and it really helps build this place. And thanks to the way it's now laid out and it's more seamless, it actually does feel like you're actually exploring sort of this real space. It all